Chapter 525. Although the Kong family and Return to Wind Valley were foreign families and did not have as deep a foundation as the old family, they still had a foundation of nearly 500 years. Previously, when the foreign faction was in the limelight, they wantonly invaded the old family's property. After the decline of the external forces, the Netherworld sect didn't have any major wars. These four families had developed quite well and had accumulated quite a bit of wealth. The spirit stones, inheritances, and resources he had obtained from the four clans were not worth mentioning, but he did have a lot of fixed assets. The four families had a total of 7 rank 2 spirit veins, and 5 of them were rank 2 middle rank. There were more than 700 mu of spirit fields, of which more than 100 mu were grade 2 spirit fields. There were also more than 40 mines and forest farms of various sizes. In addition, there were more than a dozen shops in Bailing Market, 1 in Wanchuan Market and 2 in Qingli Market. The value of these shops was extremely high, especially the 7 second-grade spirit veins. Each of them could be used as the foundation of a foundation establishment family. Wang Daoyuan didn't care about the mortals left behind by the four families. He was still living his life as before. In the future, when these spirit veins had owners, these mortals would also be taken in by the newly established family. After all, mortals with cultivator ancestors had a higher probability of giving birth to cultivator descendants. The various clans also liked to take in these mortals to improve their bloodlines. Wang Daoyuan directly spread the news that in the future, cultivators who made great contributions to the administrator's mansion would be rewarded with spiritual veins, shops, mines, and other industries. Once the news was released, the number of rogue cultivators who came to seek refuge increased dramatically. The life of a rogue cultivator was far worse than that of a clan cultivator. Even the most powerful cultivators would have to lick the blood on their blades. When he encountered a tough opponent, he put himself in the middle of it. Obtaining a spirit mountain, establishing a family, and having children was the dream of every rogue cultivator. However, if he wanted to establish a clan, he would need at least a stage 2 spirit mountain. The state of Zhou had already been developed for tens of thousands of years. Outside of the heaven/mountain range, there were no ownerless spiritual mountains. Not everyone had the ability to occupy the spiritual mountains within the heavenly/mountain range. The Kong family's Messy Rock Peak and Returning Wind Valley were not far from Qingli River and Bailing City. There was also a waterway that led to Qingli River. It was also several thousand li away from the edge of the heaven/mountain range, so there was no problem with its safety. 4 rogue cultivators. It was the most ideal place to establish a clan. Soon, hundreds of cultivators came to register in each of the 4 halls of the administrator's mansion. Alchemy, artifact, and talisman arrays didn't need too many people. The various clans could only supply a large amount of low-grade materials for refining weapons. They didn't have many materials for refining pills. The materials for talismans were still manageable. The array formation hall required the least number of people. Wang Daoyuan planned to recruit 100 blacksmiths, 100 talisman masters, 50 alchemists, and 10 array masters. Since there were so many people here, he had to choose carefully. Foundation establishment cultivators had priority. Those with high levels had priority. Just like that, the 4 halls gathered more than 50 foundation establishment cultivators. The 4 palaces were temporarily managed by the vice palace lords. All 4 of the vice palace lords were members of the Wang clan. As for the palace lords, they would have to wait until more Zifu disciples joined them, or until the clan produced even more Zifu disciples. In order to appease the other rogue cultivators, Wang Daoyuan also expanded the War Division's establishment and recruited 20 Foundation establishment rogue cultivators into the War Division. The 4 halls of elixir, crafting, and talisman arrays were set up. Wang Daoyuan treated these cultivators according to the conditions of ordinary family employment. His success rate in alchemy, talisman, and weaponry was 40%. He would be given 200 spirit stones every month. Pills, talismans, and magic tools that exceeded 40% were bought at 10% below the market price. If these people dared to sell pills and other things behind the administrator's back, they would be severely punished. As for array masters, they were the type of people who didn't open for business for 3 years. Wang Daoyuan also let them refine some formation discs. The demand for these things in Green Willow Province wasn't small, and the demand for the Northern Mountain half-demons was even greater. Now that the administrator's residence was set up, Wang Daoyuan planned to let out a sigh of relief and deal with the gifts from the Golden Core ceremony. For example, comprehending the Tai sword diagram sent by Swordless Taoist. Kuei Sword's gift was indeed the corpses of two golden-eyed jade tigers. The appearance of these things was very similar to the divine beast white tiger. It was just that their eyes were golden and the color of their fur was like white jade. The golden-eyed jade tiger was also a demonic beast with the bloodline of the white tiger. Although the concentration of the bloodline wasn't very high, it couldn't be considered a semi-divine beast. But its status in the tiger clan was equivalent to that of the dragon clan's snake transformation. These two demonic beasts were put into the space of the spiritual pearl by Wang Daoyuan and handed over to his clone Tu Yuming to deal with. The bones, claws, and teeth of the golden-eyed jade tiger were also extremely valuable refining materials. What Wang Daoyuan was most interested in was the blood of the golden-eyed jade tiger. After all, it was the bloodline of the divine beast white tiger. Using it to refine a rank 3 bloodline pill would be of great help to Yunyi's advancement. The Thunder Ape Yun-Yi, Golden Wing and Blackie had been staying in Fallen Dragon Ridge. The Thunder Ape had long awakened the Horned Thunder Ape bloodline and had now successfully broken through to rank 3. Its original black fur had now turned white. With enough strength, the Thunder Ape left Fallen Dragon Ridge and went to the depths of the sky/mountain range to look for spiritual items to brew wine. He had already found more than 10 kinds of rank 3 spirit fruits and spirit herbs, but he still hadn't collected the spiritual items to brew wine. This was at least rank 3 spirit wine or even rank 4. This method of brewing wine definitely didn't belong to the Black Ape clan. The Thunder Ape had the bloodline of the Black Ape and the Horned Thunder Ape. If it wasn't the Black Ape clan's method of brewing wine, it was very likely the Horned Thunder Ape clan's method. Blackie was now a mid-grade rank 2 spirit beast. Wang Daoyuan used to refine pills with the blood of the fierce blood boar for it to eat. Now its rank had already surpassed that of an ordinary black cloud wolf. In the future he could kill a few rank 3 bloodthirsty grey wolves and extract their blood to refine bloodline pills. For a bloodthirsty grey wolf to be able to grow to rank 4, its bloodline must be extraordinary. Even if Blackie didn't have the bloodline of a high-grade wolf-type demonic beast, it could still become a rank 3 spirit beast. Golden Wing had always been a mid-grade rank 2 spirit beast. The golden-winged goshawk was a more valuable rank 2 demonic beast, but its growth limit was not high. High-grade eagle-type demonic beasts were not easy to catch. He couldn't even find enough materials to refine bloodline pills for it. It didn't have much hope of advancing anymore, so he would just let it be a sentinel for the family. Yun-Yi was lazy and gluttonous, so her cultivation had been stuck at the upper grade of rank 2. Lord Bailing once said that Yun-Yi's tiger was unusual. Yun-Yi's tiger looked similar to the divine white tiger, so it might be a variant of the white tiger's bloodline. Although the bloodline pills refined with the blood of the golden-eyed jade tiger couldn't let ordinary demonic beasts obtain the divine beast's bloodline. However, if demonic beasts with the bloodline of the white tiger ate this bloodline pill, it could increase the probability of bloodline awakening. He could give Yun-Yi a try. If it really had the bloodline of the white tiger, it would be a big profit. Even if it didn't have the bloodline of the white tiger, eating a rank 3 bloodline pill could increase the probability of a breakthrough. Wang Daoyuan took out a bottle of the golden-eyed jade tiger's blood essence, which contained an extremely strong evil spirit. These things had to be removed. Otherwise, the bloodline pill refined would contain a lot of evil spirit. If a spirit beast ate such a bloodline pill, its intelligence might be affected. He condensed a wisp of tiny golden flame in his hand and used the flame to roast the golden-eyed jade tiger's blood essence. The evil spirit was quickly calcined. A bottle of blood essence had at least 200 grams. After being calcined for 4 hours, its weight was less than 1 gram. There was a faint golden light flickering on the dark red blood droplets. At this level it could be refined. The other auxiliary herbs were quite common, and Wang Daoyuan had already collected them. It took half a day to successfully refine a cauldron of pills, and 4 bloodline pills were produced. The bloodline pill was a rank 3 upper grade pill. He was now considered a rank 3 upper grade pill refinement master. Wang Daoyuan wanted to continue refining pills, but Lu Yuan, who was in charge of the Guiyan market, sent a message that a rank 4 demonic beast and a golden core half-demonic beast wanted to see him. The north of the mountain was now a sea of fire. If something was not handled well, the fire would spread to the south of the mountain. He handed the 4 bloodline pills to third brother and asked him to pass them to Yun Yi. Then he rode the auspicious cloud and headed to the Guiyuan market. Chapter 526. Wang Daoyuan arrived at the Guiyuan market and entered the garrison. Lu Yuan immediately led the garrison cultivators to welcome him. The cultivators from the Netherworld sect who were originally stationed here had already evacuated. Now only Lu Yuan, a Zifu realm cultivator, was stationed here. Initially, the Foundation establishment cultivators of the South Yen County were unwilling to be stationed here. Wang Daoyuan relaxed the age limit and increased the salary. Only then did they gather 20 people. Wang Daoyuan let the Foundation establishment cultivators go about their own business. He asked Lu Yuan, "What's the change in the situation in Shanbei? Why are there suddenly rank 4 demonic beasts and golden core half-demons looking for me?" Lu Yuan cupped his hands and said, "There's no obvious change. It's still on a small scale. It's just that there are more casualties and the demand for various materials is high. Our administrator's residence hasn't started doing business in Shanbei yet. The shops that do business with half-demons and demons are still the Netherworld sect's shops. Other than that, there are also some shops of small human factions. I'm guessing that they might be inviting you to do business with us this time." Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "That's easy. I was planning to expand my business to Shanbei. Come with me." With that, the two of them left the garrison and went to the Guiyuan building. When they arrived at the 3rd floor of the Guiyuan building, there were 4 people in the building. 2 of them were Hu Yu and Song Yun, whom he had met last time. The other 2 emitted golden core aura. One of them looked similar to Hu Yu. He was probably a golden core half-demon of the Silver Fox tribe. The young man sitting with Song Yun emitted a murderous aura and a bloody smell. He even had 2 blood-colored fangs in his mouth. This guy didn't look like a human or half-demon. He should be a demon in human form. Seeing Wang Daoyuan walk in, the half-demon beside Hu Yu cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Wang Daoyu. I'm Hu Ling, the Grand Elder of the Silver Fox tribe. I didn't think that the last time we met, fellow Taoist, was only in the Violet Palace realm. Now you're already a golden core cultivator." Wang Daoyuan also cupped his hands in return and exchanged a few pleasantries. The shape-shifting demonic beast at the side shouted impatiently, "Are you 2 done yet? I am the Bloodfang Wolf King of the bloodthirsty Ash Wolf clan. Now that you 2 are done talking, let's get down to business." Wang Daoyuan asked, "What do you 2 Dao you want to talk about by inviting me here?" The Bloodfang Wolf King scolded, "You humans don't keep your word. We agreed to only sell pills and basic talismans to demons and half-demons. I found out that you humans are secretly selling half-demons magic artifacts and formation discs. You're helping the half-demons deal with us demons. You have to give us an explanation." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "You have to find someone from the Underworld sect for this matter. It's useless to find me." The Bloodfang Wolf King said angrily, "Are you messing with me? Last time the person who came to negotiate with Song Yun was you. If I don't look for you, who should I look for?" He was a bit confused. He didn't know much about the situation of the human race. How could the same person represent the Underworld sect in South Yen County? Wang Daoyuan replied, "At that time I represented the Underworld sect to negotiate. Now I'm representing South Yen County. I don't care who the Underworld sect does business with. So far South Yen County hasn't had any business with demons or half-demons. It's like how some wolves leave the big pack and form a new small pack. The small pack can't interfere with the big pack. The Underworld sect is the big pack and I'm the leader of the small pack." Hearing this, the Bloodfang Wolf King understood. The small wolf packs that were separated from his wolf pack could not control the big wolf pack. Fox Spirit asked, "Since Daoyu has nothing to do with the Underworld sect, is Daoyu willing to do business with us half-demons?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "South Yen County has just been established and doesn't have enough materials. I'm afraid it's difficult to take out many things to do business with half-demons in a short time. However, if Daoyu can sell some alchemy and refining materials, South Yen County should be able to take out resources to do business faster." The relationship between half-demons and demons was terrible now. Fox Spirit was too lazy to pretend to be polite with demons and asked directly, "Do you take demon beast materials?" The Bloodfang Wolf King slammed the table and shouted angrily, "Fox Spirit, what do you mean? The muscles, bones, and skin of demons were refining materials. Blood and demon cores were refining materials. Wang Daoyuan really wanted to take some, but he didn't want to get into trouble. He replied, "We don't take corpses. We take all materials that have nothing to do with corpses." Fox Spirit was a bit disappointed and asked, "May I ask what Dao you can sell?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "We're here to do business. I don't care about other things. We'll sell whatever you want to buy." Fox Spirit's face lit up. The Bloodfang Wolf King was unhappy. Demons below the 4th level couldn't use magic tools at all. If a large number of magic tools poured into Shanbei, the demons would definitely suffer a great loss. He glared at Wang Daoyuan and questioned, "Most of the demons can't use magic tools. You're helping half-demons by selling magic tools. Does the human race want to be enemies with us demons?" Wang Daoyuan didn't think much of it. "Is it the human race's fault that you demons can't use magic tools? Besides, you demons don't take us seriously. You captured us as scapegoats and you still have the face to question me." The cultivator next to me came from the desert in the north. He was chased by demons and had nowhere to go, so he joined me. "Don't you demons owe me an explanation too?" Wang Daoyuan didn't really want to be enemies with the demons. He just wanted to sell some 1st level and 2nd level magic tools. He definitely couldn't bring it up directly. However, the demons could accept it if he said that he wanted to sell all the magic tools first and then only 1st level and 2nd level ones. The Bloodfang Wolf King was in the wrong and could only bargain on the level of the magic tools. He had no choice but to agree to sell 1st level and 2nd level magic tools in Yannan County. The final result of the negotiation was that Yannan County could sell pills of any grade, but magic tools, spirit talismans, and array discs could only be sold at 1st level and 2nd level. After the negotiation, Fox Spirit asked, "May I ask if the human race has any methods to deal with refined corpses?" Wang Daoyuan didn't know why he asked that and answered casually, "Is there a need to ask me about refined corpses? Among the demons and half-demons, there should be members with thunder and fire attributes, especially those with divine beast bloodlines. Once they awaken a small divine ability, their strength will far surpass that of humans of the same level. What's a mere refined corpse?" After reaching the 4th level, demons with divine beast bloodlines were nothing if they didn't have a small divine ability. Once they awakened a small divine ability, their strength would take a huge leap. Furthermore, the higher the bloodline density, the stronger the small divine ability. Just like the green-scaled flood dragon that he killed before, if it could break through to the 4th level and awaken a small divine ability of the dragon race. With Wang Daoyuan's current strength, he might not be its match unless he also comprehended a small divine ability. Fox Spirit sighed, "How could I not know that the fire and thunder attributes can restrain refined corpses, but it's hard to find one in a short time." Previously, the demons and half-demons were fighting at Treasure Mirror Lake and accidentally discovered a secret realm. After they entered, they actually alarmed more than 10 4th-level refined corpses inside, and 3 of them were even high-grade 4th level. Those refined corpses often hunted demons and half-demons near the secret realm. Our Silver Fox tribe is less than 10,000 miles away from Treasure Mirror Lake, and the 4th-level refined corpses can come here at any time. Our Silver Fox tribe doesn't have the inheritance of fire and thunder attributes, so we can't deal with them at all. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was stunned. The refined corpses that he had been worried about were awakened by the demons and half-demons. 4th-level refined corpses could also fly, and they had developed some intelligence. Although they weren't high, they weren't easy to deal with. If it was a non-fire and thunder attribute cultivator, they wouldn't be a match for the 4th-level refined corpses at all. The demons and half-demons had some scruples and didn't dare to come to the southern mountain, but the refined corpses didn't care about anything. Wang Daoyuan could use the Red Yang True Fire to deal with the low-grade 4th-level refined corpses, but he wasn't confident about dealing with the high-grade 4th-level refined corpses. He still had to be on guard against these refined corpses, otherwise if they came to the southern mountain, the losses would be no less than the beast tide. Chapter 527. Wang Daoyuan was happy to see the refined corpses consume the power of the demons and half-demons. However, the refined corpses were an unstable factor. They wouldn't go too far from the Yellow Spring secret realm. Maybe they were used to staying in places with Densine Qi and Death Qi and didn't like the outside world. However, no one could say for sure if they would run around in the future. Moreover, the corpses of the half-demons and demons killed by the refined corpses were thrown into the Yellow Spring secret realm. After a long time they would also become refined corpses. Although they wouldn't be nurtured for long, the strength of the refined corpses wouldn't be too high. However, as long as their cultivation was high enough, the refined corpses would be extremely powerful. Such half-baked refined corpses wouldn't be able to defeat cultivators of the same level. It would be effortless for them to kill low-level cultivators and even ordinary people. He pondered for a long time before replying, "Once a rank 4 refined corpse comes out, it will be a disaster. Although I'm a penta-spirit root cultivator and can use fire-type spells, my cultivation is only at the early stage of golden core. I have full confidence in dealing with low-grade rank 4 refined corpses. If someone cooperates, I can barely deal with mid-grade rank 4 refined corpses. However, I can't deal with high-grade rank 4 refined corpses. According to what you said, these refined corpses only move around the secret realm. There are more than 10 rank 4 refined corpses in that area. Without more than 10 golden core cultivators, you won't be their match. I suggest that you demons and half-demons stay away from the Mirror Lake Oasis. Otherwise, if they keep killing demons and half-demons, it will be helping them expand their power." Hu Ling and the Bloodfang Wolf King nodded in agreement. After that, they discussed some details and went their separate ways. Although the refined corpses were strong, the spirit qi in the east of the Yellow Spring secret realm was more abundant. Rank 4 refined corpses didn't have high intelligence and acted more on instinct. If they wanted to flee, it was more likely that they would head east and enter the sky/mountain range. It wasn't a matter of life and death yet, so there was no need to disrupt their plans. If the refined corpses started to flee and drag those bastards from the Netherworld sect down, they would be extremely interested in the refined corpses. Since he came to Wild Goose Market, he should go and see Zhou Luan and settle his business. Wang Daoyuan went to the Divine Weapon Pavilion store and sent a message to his master, asking for some artifacts that could restrain the refined corpses. Then he let Lu Yuan return to the Guardian's encampment. After taking a detour, he arrived at the underground branch of Blood Shadow. As soon as he entered Zhou Luan's cave residence, he heard her sarcastic voice. "Administrator, you are so busy. How come you have time to come to my place?" Wang Daoyuan walked into the backyard and said with a smile, "Aren't I preparing the house for the child? The preparations are almost done. When do you think we can get married?" This time Zhou Luan fell silent. Wang Daoyuan asked worriedly, "What happened to the hall master?" Only then did Zhou Luan sigh and say, "I'm afraid I won't have the chance to marry into Jade's Spring Peak in this lifetime. Elder Su's Su family is very powerful within Blood Shadow. There were more than 10 golden core cultivators, and there were even cultivators with heaven spirit roots. In addition to the disciples and old friends, they made up 1/3 of Blood Shadow's forces. Back then I refused to marry his grandson, which made the Su family lose face. If I marry into the Wang family openly, I'm afraid the Su family will do everything they can to make trouble for the Wang family." Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan also fell silent. Blood Shadow's strength was comparable to the 4 top forces. The Su family's forces made up 1/3 of Blood Shadow's forces, which was enough to beat the majority of forces. The Wang family was simply unable to resist. After a long silence he said indignantly, "When I reach the Yuanying realm, I'll go to Blood Shadow's headquarters and beat all of their cultivators into submission. Let's see who dares to meddle in my affairs." Zhou Luan walked out of her room. At this time she was wearing a fiery red phoenix robe and a phoenix crown. She glanced at him and said, "Cowardly rat, how long are you going to delay?" Wang Daoyuan answered, "Hall Master is a golden core cultivator. If I can't marry you officially, I'll always feel like I owe you." Zhou Luan smiled and took out a red robe. "It's good that you have this intention. My Zhou family values etiquette the most. Although I'm from a branch family, I can't marry without proper etiquette. If I can't marry you officially, I'll skip the 6 etiquettes, but I can't skip the cohabitation ceremony." Weddings in the cultivation world were similar to the Qin and Han weddings in Huaxiao in his previous life. The cohabitation ceremony was the predecessor of the wedding ceremony. It was similar to the ceremony of bowing to heaven and earth. The ceremony of bowing to one's parents and ancestors was on the morning of the 2nd day after entering the bridal chamber. Wedding clothes were usually black, but the Zhou family liked red. Wang Daoyuan changed into the red robe and held Zhou Wan's hand as they walked into the room. The room had already been decorated. There were 3 dishes on the table in the room. The 2 of them sat facing each other. Zhou Wan picked up the dishes and fed Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan ate half of the food and Zhou Wan finished the rest. Soon after, she picked up a gourd and divided it into 2 ladles. The gourds were tied together with a silk thread. She poured wine into the 2 ladles and the 2 of them drank half of it each. Then they switched ladles and drank. After drinking the wine, the cohabitation ceremony was completed. Soon after, the 2 of them cut a strand of hair and tied it together with a silk thread before putting it into the cut gourd. This was the wedding ceremony. After the cohabitation ceremony, Wang Daoyuan carried Zhou Wan and walked towards the carved bed. The next night, Zhou Wan woke up. Wang Daoyuan was drinking at the table. When he saw her wake up, he asked with a smile, "Hall Master, according to the rules, you have to wake up the next morning to worship your ancestors. It's already night time, why haven't you woken up yet?" Zhou Wan said lazily, "Your ancestral temple isn't here. Where do you want to worship your ancestors?" After saying that, she pulled up the bed curtain and put on her clothes. After getting up, she felt that something was wrong under the bed. She scanned with her divine sense and found that the black tortoise shield was under the bed. He was puzzled. "Why did you put the black tortoise shield under the bed?" Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Hall Master, you've prepared everything. Why didn't you prepare a sturdier bed? It's just a second-rank spiritual wood, not even a magic tool. How can it?" Seeing Zhou Wan stare at him, he didn't say anything else. He muttered in a low voice, "It's not all my fault." Zhou Wan pretended to hit him. Wang Daoyuan took out an identical wooden bed from the spiritual pearls space and said with a smile, "I've already prepared it. This one is sturdier." The new wooden bed was made of second-rank high-grade gold-threaded jade peach wood. It was refined into a third-rank low-grade magic tool. Zhou Wan's cheeks flushed red. She grabbed him and punched him several times before she stopped. Wang Daoyuan continued to stay here. The affairs of the administrator's residence were managed by his 5th granduncle. Everything was carried out in an orderly manner. There were some affairs that his 5th granduncle didn't dare to take charge of, so he sent him a letter to inquire. He just replied with a letter. A month later, Mou's doppelganger received a letter from Elder Su of the Blood Shadow headquarters. The Deputy Hall Master's command tablet of the Xianbei branch had always been with Mou. This letter was naturally for Wang Daoyuan. In the letter, Elder Su questioned Wang Daoyuan why he couldn't suppress Zhou Wan and let her form her gold core. Wang Daoyuan wasn't happy about this question. He suppressed Zhou Wan until she was obedient. Why couldn't he suppress her? Speaking of which, where did Elder Su get this information? Zhou Wan formed her gold core at the Snow Dragon volcano. There were no human cultivators there at all. Apart from him and Zhou Wan, only a few demonic beasts knew about this matter. Most of those demonic beasts died in the volcano eruption. Could it be that the Blood Shadow headquarters had some connections with the demonic beasts? He asked Zhou Wan about this. Zhou Wan replied, "Sometimes the Blood Shadow headquarters also does business with the demonic beasts. The headquarters most likely got this information from one of the demonic beasts that they had cooperated with before. If they had an intelligence network in the demonic beasts, they wouldn't have only found out after so many years." A few days later, news came from the headquarters that Zhou Wan was appointed as the Blood Shadow Elder. However, she wasn't allowed to return to the headquarters. Instead, the Xianbei branch was promoted to a first-class branch and was in charge of the affairs of the Xianbei branch. The branches of the Blood Shadow were divided into 2 levels. They were the first-class branch and the second-class branch. The Hall Master of the first-class branch was usually a golden core cultivator with the title of Elder. For example, the Sanhe branch of the state of Zhao was a first-class branch. It was in charge of more than 10 second-class branches in the state of Zhao. The Hall Master of the second-class branch could also be a Zifu realm cultivator who became a Hall Master halfway. The Hall Master of the first-class branch had to be a direct descendant of the Blood Shadow. There weren't many requirements for the Deputy Hall Master. Wang Daoyuan continued to be the Hall Master. Chapter 528. Regarding Zhou Wan's placement, the Blood Shadow headquarters policies were contradictory. North of Mount Huiyan there was only one Xianbei branch. Zhou Wan was promoted to a first-level branch hall master, but her actual power didn't change at all. This was considered suppression. Zhou Wan's main enemy was the Su family, so this placement method was definitely the Su family's doing. Half a month later, there was news that the Qingli branch in Qingli Market was placed under the Shanbei branch. At the same time, Zhou Wan was also given the power to appoint second-level branch hall masters and vice hall masters. This was definitely a great decentralization of power. Ordinary first-level branch hall masters had the power to appoint second-level branch hall masters, but they didn't have the power to appoint hall masters. A few people without status didn't even have the power to appoint second-level vice hall masters. Only a few people with higher status had the power to appoint second-level hall masters. It seemed that the higher-ups of Blood Shadow still didn't like the Su family's power. Now that Zhou Wan had the power to appoint second-level hall masters, she could be considered a feudal lord within Blood Shadow. After receiving this news, Zhou Wan proudly handed the hall master token to Wang Daoyuan. Little fellow surnamed Wang, I'm also the master of a region now. I'm in charge of the entire Shanbei, plus your underground power in Yannan County. It's much bigger than your territory. Wang Daoyuan pulled her over and smiled. Conquering a region is too difficult. It's easier to conquer the master of a region. How dare you speak rudely to me? Do you still have family rules in your eyes? With a strong waist, one's status would be high. Now that Wang Daoyuan was a man of his word, Zhou Wan immediately begged for mercy. After messing around for a while, Zhou Wan asked, "It's not suitable for Shanbei to expand wantonly. But Qingli Market Hall Master Qin Zhonggong is one of Elder Su's people, and he's a direct descendant. Vice Hall Master Qian Feng is a loose cultivator. How do you plan to deal with them?" Wang Daoyuan said without hesitation, "Naturally we can't leave them in our territory. Since Qin Zhonggong is a direct descendant of Blood Shadow, it's not easy to take him down. Don't you have the power to appoint second-level hall masters?" He asked him to lead his trusted subordinates to open a new branch in the desert oasis in the north of the mountain. Let him go to the place where the battle between the demonic beasts and half-demonic beasts was the fiercest. Let's see how long he could live. In any case, the resources issued by the headquarters are in your hands. Withhold all the resources that should be distributed and let him go to the desert to drink the northwest wind. As for Qian Feng, I'll control him, then let him become the Hall Lord. I'll arrange for a Zifu disciple to become the Vice Hall Lord. Wang Daoyuan planned to send his doppelganger Cui Ming out to take up the position of Qingli Branch's deputy hall master. Qin Zhonggong went to open another branch. Every 100 years he would bring 3 pieces of yin yang purple jade to Bloodshadow's headquarters. Zhou Wan said with a smile, "You have more and more tricks up your sleeve. Once we get rid of Qin Zhonggong and Qianfeng, Yannan County will be ours." He had just received his orders, so there was no need for him to take action immediately. He wanted to see if there were any changes at Blood Shadow's headquarters. Wang Daoyuan continued to live in the Shanbei branch, remotely controlling the administrator's mansion. His life was very good. The strength of the third-level low-grade magic weapon was also very high, and there were no more problems with the bedboard. A year later, the 5th great-uncle sent news that Gu Wangzong, the deputy sect master of the Netherworld sect, had come to question the administrator's mansion about doing business with the Green Willow province. This made Wang Daoyuan very unhappy. The Netherworld sect was always looking for trouble. He was living well here, but they just had to find trouble for him and ask him to deal with it. He had stayed here for more than a year and worked hard to cultivate. His cultivation had improved a little, but his physical strength hadn't improved at all. If it weren't for the body refining effect of the cultivation technique, his physical strength might have decreased. After parting with Zhou Wan, he hid his figure and returned to Qingli Market. Back at the administrator's mansion, the 5th great-uncle accompanied Gu Wangzong in the meeting room. Beside them was Qin Bingda, the head of the Qin family of the Deep Earth Peak. When the families of Hundred Spirit Mountain did business with the Wang family, the Qin family was the middleman, and the two families had a good relationship. However, when Wang Daoyuan was the administrator, the Qin family wasn't the first to support him, so Wang Daoyuan didn't treat the Qin family as his confidants. The Qin family didn't have a share in the small stewards of the palaces. Now Qin Bingda was crying and kneeling in front of Gu Wangzong. He didn't know what he had done. Seeing Wang Daoyuan come in, Gu Wangzong cupped his hands and said, "Administrator Wang, the Qin family did business with the Green Willow province, which violated the rules of the Netherworld sect. According to the rules of the sect, the Qin family should be exterminated. What do you think, Administrator? Hearing this, Qin Bingda was almost scared to death. He kowtowed and begged for mercy. Wang Daoyuan said, "Fifth great-uncle, take Qin Bingda out. I have something to talk to Deputy Sect Master Gu." Fifth great-uncle took Qin Bingda out. Wang Daoyuan found a place to sit down and asked, "You can't do business with the Green Willow province. This is the order of the guardian of Qingli City hundreds of years ago. It doesn't affect the administrator's mansion. The administrator's mansion has full authority to manage the affairs of South Yen County. This small matter is still within my jurisdiction. Even if you want to punish, I will do it. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't use the Qin family as an excuse. If you really want to punish, the sect didn't send you here." Gu Wangzong smiled and said, "The administrator is really smart. I didn't come for the Qin family but for the administrator's mansion. After all, the Green Willow province is a remnant of the Zhou family. It's not good to do business with them so blatantly. In the past year, the administrator's mansion has done business with the Green Willow province and made a lot of spirit stones." Hearing this, he understood that the administrator was coveting this business. He used the Qin family as an excuse to beat him and ask for some benefits. Naturally, he wouldn't be fooled. The Qin family did business with the Green Willow province behind the administrator's mansion's back. Even if the Netherworld sect didn't do anything, he would still punish them severely. Wang Daoyuan replied, "You should know very well how many rogue cultivators there are in the Green Willow province. Once a beast tide happens, they will be the first line of defense of South Yen County. I sell things there to use the rogue cultivators to consume the demonic beast. As for the remnant of the Zhao family, the Shi family doesn't even have a Zifu realm cultivator. What can they do? In the past year, I have only earned 200,000 to 300,000 spirit stones from there. The sect can casually develop a few industries and earn it back. Why would the sects want to snatch such a small profit?" Wang Daoyuan said it out loud, so Gu Wangzong didn't hide it anymore. The sect needs spirit stones to maintain itself. There are so many people in the sect who rely on spirit stones to support themselves. 200,000 to 300,000 spirit stones isn't a small amount. The sect master and the grand elders mean that the South Yen County can do business freely, but the sect will take half of the profits. Wang Daoyuan slapped the table and stood up. "In your dreams. I put in effort, but you don't do anything. You want to take advantage of the situation? I don't want to do this business anymore. The resources can be sold to the north of the mountain. The sect can do the business of the Green Willow province itself." The Netherworld sect's reputation wasn't very good. They had been raising the Green Willow province and the surrounding families like pigs. No matter how good the conditions were, the Green Willow province didn't dare to do business with them. Gu Wangzong was also afraid of breaking up. Even if Wang Daoyuan didn't sell it openly, he could sell it secretly. At that time, the sect wouldn't get a single spirit stone benefit. He smiled and said, "How about 30%? He turned and was about to walk out, but Gu Wangzong immediately stopped him. 20%? Daoyuan was still unmoved. Gu Wangzong gritted his teeth and said, 10% should be enough. It can't be lower. Wang Daoyuan looked at him with disdain. "I don't understand. You people are so stupid. How did the sect survive for thousands of years? Seeing a good business, you only want to take advantage of it and make the business impossible. There are at least 200,000 rogue cultivators in the Green Willow province. So many people, how many resources do they need to consume? The resources that my South Yen County can provide now can't even fill 10% of the demand. You don't want to make the business big, you just want to get benefits for free. If you want to get benefits, do this business together and earn spirit stones together. You want to get benefits from me for free? No way." Chapter 529. When Gu Wangzong heard Wang Daoyuan say that they could do business together, he became interested and hurriedly asked, "Administrator, please tell me, how can we earn spirit stones together?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Just by looking at the clear glass market, I know that you don't know how to do business. The combined business of the left and right markets for a year can't compare to the old market for a day. I think the business of the shops in the other markets should be about the same. The sect's income should be from taxes and the production and sale of the phase produced by the various industries. The various resources produced can't be consumed by themselves, but there is no place to sell them. I don't know if I'm right? The three major sects were all the same. After defeating the Zhao clan, they didn't know what their surname was. They were arrogant and domineering, forced people to buy and sell, and even directly took away the shops with good business. Now that their reputation has been ruined, no one is willing to do business with them. What he said was the truth and Gu Wangzong couldn't refute it. He could only nod helplessly. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "You can sell a large number of resources to the affiliated forces and let the affiliated forces sell them. For example, the sect can sell the resources to me and I can sell them to the Green Willow province. In this way the sect can sell the resources and I can also make some spirit stones. Everyone can make money and the business can last. I'm only telling you this, we can be considered old friends. If it's the Luo brothers, I'm too lazy to care about them." This last sentence was to test Gu Wangzong, to see if the four local families were on the same side. When Gu Wangzong heard the last sentence, his eyes clearly showed a bright light. Wang Daoyuan knew in his heart that Gu Wangzong and the Luo family were not on good terms. Where there were people there would be conflicts. An evil sect like the Netherworld sect would definitely not be harmonious internally. The Wang family was now the master of a region. If they wanted to develop and grow, it was best to slowly weaken the Netherworld sect and make room for their own development. This process could only be done step by step and could not be too drastic. Otherwise, the Netherworld sect would fall quickly and the Wang family would not grow. At that time, the Wang family would face the suppression of the Thousand Spirit sect and the Cruel Sun Palace, and their days would be even more difficult than now. The best way to weaken the Netherworld sect was to stir up internal conflicts. Out of the other 5 supreme elders of the Underworld sect, 2 of them were from the Luo family, while the Gu family only had 1 supreme elder. In addition to Luo Hongming and Gu Wangzong, the Golden Core cultivators of the 2 families were 3 against 2. In the future, Luo Hongming might form his Gold Core. At that time, Gu Wangzong would be even less of a match. If he wanted them to fight to their heart's content, he had to support the weak. For example, this business deal with Gu Wangzong would increase the Netherworld sect's financial resources. Gu Wangzong had made a great contribution, and his prestige would definitely increase greatly. At that time, the supreme elders of the Ming family and the Zhong family might also support Gu Wangzong. This way, the strength of both sides would be on par, and the Wang clan would be able to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. After listening to Wang Daoyuan's words, Gu Wangzong pondered for a long time before replying, "The administrator's proposal is worth a try, but how do you calculate the purchase price?" Wang Daoyuan replied, "Naturally, according to the market price." Gu Wangzong laughed and said, "Administrator, this is a bit unkind. As far as I know, the materials you sold to the Green Willow province were 50% higher than the market price." Wang Daoyuan sneered, "You are quite well informed, but I can get such a high price because I have the ability. If you have the ability to sell things at this price, I have no objection." Gu Wangzong had no way to refute. After being stunned for a long time, he said, "More or less, I am under the orders of the sect master and the supreme elders. If I go back like this, it will be difficult to explain." Wang Daoyuan replied, "For the sake of our friendship, I can raise it by 10%. The highest is only this much." Gu Wangzong gritted his teeth and said, "In the 4 markets under your jurisdiction, there are many shops of the sect. When I came, the sect master and the supreme elders also said that they can give these shops to you in exchange for some shares. All the shops of the sect in the 100 Spirit Mountain Market, Qingli Market and Golden Goose City can all be given to you. In the Guiyan Market, the sect has more than 200 shops, half of which can be given to you. It's just that the purchase price of the resources has to be 30% higher than the market price." These shops were not very useful to Wang Daoyuan. A force in the same market only needed a few shops. It was meaningless to have too many. In any market, the Divine Weapon Pavilion had at most 1 shop, and its business was not bad. These shops were only used to recruit rogue cultivators or reward meritorious subordinates. The rest was to increase some taxes. After all, when these shops were in the hands of the Netherworld sect, he could not collect taxes. Wang Daoyuan shook his head. "These shops don't have much business and their value is not great. I can take these shops, but the price can only be raised by 10%. I can buy them at 20% higher than the market price. If you are willing, we will do this business. If not, then we will go our separate ways." Gu Wangzong pondered for a while before replying, I have no objection, but I need to report to the sect master and the grand elders. Whether it can be done or not, it depends on the sect master and the grand elders. After that he left the Guiyan market on a cloud. After sending Gu Wangzong away, Wang Daoyuan asked the fifth granduncle to bring Qin Bingde in. Qin Bingde's face was full of horror, thinking that a disaster was coming. The Kong family of the messy stone peak was not far from the Qin family's thick earth peak. He had seen clearly how the Kong clan had been destroyed. Wang Daoyuan ordered the patriarchs of the various families to come to the governor's mansion for a discussion. The Kong family, Huifeng Valley, and the other three families only happened a year ago. The other families did not dare to disobey Wang Daoyuan's orders. In less than half a day, all the patriarchs of the families arrived. Wang Daoyuan said, the vice sect master of the Netherworld sect, Gu Wangzong, just left. This time he was here to denounce them. The Qin family did business with the Green Willow region and broke the rules of the Netherworld sect. According to the old rules, the Qin family will be exterminated. I saved the Qin family. After all, it is a family under my command. If there is a mistake, I will punish it. I won't hide it from you. The governor's mansion is doing business with the Green Willow region, and the sect also knows. Under the pressure of the Netherworld sect, I negotiated the business with the Green Willow region. You want to eat the ready-made food, how dare you? Follow the governor's mansion, I eat the meat and you can drink the soup. But don't think about snatching the meat from my bowl. From now on, the governor's mansion will buy resources from the various families and add 10% on the basis of the current market price. This is the soup for you. Those who do business in the Green Willow region, quickly wipe your butt clean. If anyone dares to snatch the meat, the Kong family will be the example. The Qin family will be fined 50,000 spirit stones. I will still treat you the same in the future. But you can all go. The other families heard Wang Daoyuan's words and breathed a sigh of relief. This fire did not burn their heads and they also got some benefits, so they left one after another. Qin Bingde felt as if he had been pardoned. He bowed deeply before leaving. After this operation, the families in South Yen County were shocked. No one dared to snatch the rice bowl from him. The business of the Green Willow region was completely in his hands. At the same time, he also got resources from the Netherworld sect. When he sold them, he only needed to pay the transportation fee and he would have a profit of 30% of the market price. The resources of South Yen County were not enough to fill the Green Willow region, but the Netherworld sect had accumulated resources for many years. It was easy to fill the Green Willow region. Wang Daoyuan could also sell the resources of the Netherworld sect to the demons and half-demons in the north of the mountain. It was not a problem to sell the resources at twice the market price. Monopolizing the business of the Green Willow region, the governor's mansion could get more than $1 million in profit every year. After solving the income problem, he could recruit people wantonly. The development of the governor's mansion was on the right track. Next, he would be busy with the family matters. The family was his foundation. Next, he had to upgrade the Jade Spring Peak Spirit Vein to the 4th level as soon as possible and restore the Myriad Water Origin formation. This would also give the 12th uncle and the others a safe place to form their core. Chapter 530. 2 days later, there was a reply from the Netherworld sect. The sect master and the grand elders all agreed to the agreement between Wang Daoyuan and Gu Wangzong. In the future, the Netherworld sect's supplies would be directly sent to Qingli City by large cargo flying boats. Both sides completed the transfer of supplies in Qingli City. Wang Daoyuan was a little surprised. When did the Netherworld sect do things so happily? The Netherworld sect cultivators guarding the shops in the various markets had all received the notice and were ready to hand over the shops. The cultivators of the business department of the finance department also rushed to the various markets to take over the Netherworld sect's shops. These shops were not worth a single spirit stone in their hands, and they had to spend manpower and resources to protect them. Wang Daoyuan announced to the public that the shops in the various markets could be rented out, and rogue cultivators and families could come and rent them. The cultivators under the administration of the administrator's mansion would also reward the shops if they made great contributions. Only the shops with people doing business were valuable, whether it was rented out for rent or rewarded. As long as someone was doing business, the tax would not run away. These matters were managed by the finance department, so he did not need to worry about it. He did not go to Zhou Xian's place as it would affect his cultivation too much. Fortunately, he had refined the spiritual fire and had enough spiritual power to nourish his 5 internal organs. Otherwise, his small body would not be able to bear it. Although the human race's reproduction speed was far faster than the divine beasts and many demon races, the higher the cultivation, the more difficult it was to give birth to children. Of course, there were gains and losses. Generally speaking, the higher the cultivation, the higher the probability of the offspring having spiritual roots, and the more talented the offspring with spiritual roots would be. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Xian were both golden core cultivators, and it was not easy to give birth to children. If they did not struggle for 8 to 10 years, it would probably be impossible. In the future, he had to find a brilliant dual cultivation secret method to cultivate and give birth to children. He left Qingli City and came to Qingyun Peak. Qingyun Peak was now the second core of the Wang family on the surface, only 300 to 400 miles away from Qingli City. In order to save time and transportation costs, most of the family's pills, talismans, and magic weapons were refined here, and then directly transported to Qingli City. Furthermore, the territory of the Blue Cloud Peak was much larger than that of the Jade Spring Peak. Therefore, there were many cultivators and ordinary clansmen living here. Wang Daoyuan had stayed here for a few years when he first took back the Blue Cloud Peak. Since there was a cave abode here, he could use it to improve his attainments in array formations. When he arrived at Qingyun Peak, he found that Zhao Liang and little uncle Wang Shouja were also there. The two of them brought half of the cultivators from the Artifact Forging Hall and the Array Formation Hall to refine a Tier 3 low-grade flying warship. Back when Wang Daoyuan was forging the flying warship in the Underworld sect, he had his doppelganger record the forging methods of all the components of the warship. He had already handed these things over to his family. Zhao Liang and Wang Shouja were not trying to cross the river by feeling their way around. After the two of them reached the 3rd level in refining and array formation, they began to find time to refine some of the flying warship's side plates, ribs, and other non-core components. Now the Wang family did not lack 3rd-tier lower-grade materials. Apart from the miscellaneous refining materials they had obtained from doing business with the Green Willow Island, they also had the iron steel Oregon. There was also the star steel vein in the Golden Tiger Mountain. If they dug deeper, they would often find low-grade Tier 3 star steel ores. Although they did not accumulate much 3rd-tier lower-grade star steel, it was still enough to refine a few flying warships. Zhao Liang and Wang Shouja had refined many flying warships over the years and cooperated quite well. With rich experience and the forging methods given by Wang Daoyuan, the two of them were able to refine the core of the flying warship, but the chances of failure were a bit high. Star steel could be reforged many times, so it did not matter if it failed. Even if it could not be used to refine the core components, it could be used to refine ordinary components. The most troublesome thing for the two of them was the dragon bone. Although the core components were more complicated, they could be divided into many parts and refined separately, so the difficulty was relatively low. The dragon bone was a whole and needed to be formed in one go. For the two of them it was very difficult. Since Wang Daoyuan was here, they naturally would not let go of this opportunity to ask for advice. Since there were more than a dozen 2nd-tier refiners and array masters here, Wang Daoyuan taught them how to refine the dragon bone on the spot. Refining the dragon bone was also helpful to improve the level of array masters, so Wang Daoyuan simply demonstrated how to refine it on the spot. With his early golden core cultivation base, coupled with the strength of his divine sense that surpassed his peers, refining a 3rd-tier lower-grade dragon bone was no pressure at all. If he really wanted to pursue speed, he could refine the entire dragon bone in a day or two. Of course, his goal was to show the refining method to the family's disciples, not just to pursue speed. It took half a month to refine a single dragon bone, so the clansmen could clearly see every step of the process. Then he let Zhao Liang and Wang Shouja start refining. Wang Daoyuan guided them from the side and explained the key points of every step to the younger generation. After more than 20 days, the two of them finally worked together to refine a dragon bone. Now that they had 2 dragon bones, they could refine 2 flying warships, enough to keep them busy for a few years. Wang Daoyuan no longer cared about them and returned to his cave abode to improve the level of array masters. Ordinary array masters improved the level of array masters by finding a piece of material and trying to inscribe a higher-level array pattern. However, Wang Daoyuan did not want to waste time. There was no essential difference between a 3rd-tier lower grade and a 3rd-tier middle grade array master, and the difference in array patterns was also very small. A third-tier middle-grade array master only consumed more divine sense when inscribing array patterns. With his cultivation base and divine sense, this was not a problem. He chose to refine a third-tier middle-grade flying warship directly. Not only could he improve the level of refining and array masters, but he could also refine a flying warship to strengthen the family. The material was also easy to solve. He just needed to use a third-tier lower-grade star steel. A third-tier lower-grade material could be used to refine a third-tier middle-grade artifact, but the requirements for the tool pattern were higher. This was a piece of cake. Any third-tier middle-grade artifact master with a bit of skill could do it. He took some star steel from Zhou Xian and tried to refine the core component of the flying warship. Previously he had refined a fourth-tier life-bound artifact, the Kirin seal. The requirements for a life-bound artifact were not high. This was because the most difficult part of refining was inscribing the tool pattern. Once there was a major mistake in the tool pattern, the artifact would be wasted. And the tool pattern of a life-bound artifact was condensed with the power of divine sense. If there was a mistake, it could be redone. No matter how many times it was repeated, it would not affect the artifact itself. As long as he could temper the materials and forge the artifact into shape, there was no possibility of failure when refining a life-bound artifact. It was only a temporary failure. Previously, when refining life-bound artifacts, he had also accumulated a lot of valuable experience. Refining a third-tier middle-grade artifact was not difficult at all. Wang Daoyuan tried a few times, but he only succeeded in crafting a core component of the flying warship. After that, he used more than a year to refine a third-tier middle-grade flying warship. His level of array formation also steadily rose to third-tier middle-grade. Zhao Liang and Wang Shoujia also successfully refined a third-tier lower-grade flying warship. Since the flying warship was successfully refined, it naturally had to do some flight tests. This thing could not be hidden from others. Soon the news that the Wang family had built a flying warship was known by the underworld sect. Luojiu, that guy, worked hard to suppress Gu Wangzong. When he encountered a difficult problem, he would throw it to Gu Wangzong. This time he came to question Wang Daoyuan again why he violated the underworld sect's ban and privately built a flying warship. Wang Daoyuan had already thought of an excuse. Luo Jiao had released all the restrictions on flying warships, which naturally included the restrictions on modification. When Gu Wangzong came to question him, Wang Daoyuan refuted righteously, "How can you accuse me based on nothing? The sect master made a promise to release all the restrictions on flying warships. What's wrong with me modifying it? I modified it based on the flying warship. This is clearly a combat flying warship. How can you say it's a flying warship?" Gu Wangzong was also speechless. Everyone knew that the flying warship was modified based on the flying warship. There was a flaw in Luo Jiao's promise that Wang Daoyuan caught. There was no way to reason with him. Chapter 531. Gu Wangzong held back for a long time before he forced a smile and said, "Administrator, you should limit them more or less. If you want to refine flying warships without any restrictions, the sect will have no choice but to take action." Wang Daoyuan didn't want to confront the Netherworld sect either. Although the Netherworld sect didn't dare to deal with him openly, their ability to play tricks and trip him up was still very strong. If they really fought behind the scenes, the administrator's mansion wouldn't be able to outlast the Netherworld sect. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to secretly backstab the Netherworld sect all day long. He wanted to boil the frog in warm water and slowly get rid of the Netherworld sect. Compared to the Luo family, Gu Wangzong could be said to be one of the few honest people in the local branch. As an honest person, Wang Daoyuan knew him very well. The flying warships refined by the Wang family had already crossed the bottom line of the Netherworld sect. Since he had said so, he had to make some concessions. Wang Daoyuan asked with a smile, "How do you want to limit it, Vice Sect Master? Do you want to limit the number, size, and speed?" Sect Master said before that there are no restrictions on flying warships. "Isn't a flying warship also a flying warship?" Gu Wangzong replied, "Every time the Wang family refines 2 combat airships, they must sell one to the sect at the price of 400,000 spirit stones each." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Selling 1 warship to the sect for every 2 warships refined is no problem, but the price is not appropriate. The raw material cost of a 3rd-rank low-grade flying warship is more than 200,000 spirit stones. It takes a third-rank array master and a third-rank craftsman to inscribe array patterns and tool patterns on a flying warship for 2 years. If you ask them to refine ordinary third-rank magic tools and array discs, they can earn at least 300,000 spirit stones in 2 years. Adding the tempering materials and forging work, the labor cost is close to 400,000 spirit stones. A flying warship can only be sold for 600,000 spirit stones to ensure that it won't suffer a loss. According to the price you gave, I have to pay 200,000 spirit stones for refining 2 warships? Gu Wangzong ridiculed. Administrator, you're talking about the price of a flying warship. I thought the flying warship was different. How does the administrator intend to sell it? Give me the details. Wang Daoyuan was thick-skinned and didn't care about the sarcasm in the slightest. He replied, the cost of a flying battleship isn't lower than a flying battleship. Each one costs at least 600,000 spirit stones. Furthermore, my Wang family is lacking in manpower, and we don't have many tier 3 materials, so it's impossible for us to refine them in large quantities. How about this? I can sell the flying ships to the sect at a cost price of 600,000 spirit stones per ship. However, there were 2 conditions. First, the Wang clan had to have more than 10 combat airships before they could start selling them. Secondly, the sect wants to sell our Wang family tier 3 crafting materials, but the Wang family's tier 3 crafting materials are not enough. If you agree, then there's no problem. If you don't, then there's nothing I can do. Gu Wangzong thought for a while and said, there's no problem with the first condition. The price is fair. As for the second condition, the sect is very strict with the third tier refining materials, so I don't dare to make the decision. I need to return to the sect and discuss this matter with the sect leader and the grand elders. Wang Daoyuan did not expect the Netherworld sect to agree to the second condition. After all, these local guys were not fools. If the Wang family was given enough tier 3 crafting materials, then it would really be difficult to restrict the Wang family. The tier 3 mineral veins in the entire Zhou country had long been controlled by the 3 major sections. The Wang family developed the Fallen Dragon Ridge and did not find any tier 3 mineral veins. Now they could only rely on the Green Willow Island and Shanbei to obtain sporadic tier 3 materials. These sporadic materials were not a problem to refine ordinary magic tools, but it was really not enough to refine a large magic tool like the flying warship. The Wang family did not have enough materials to refine 10 flying warships in a short time, so the Netherworld sect could drag it out first. Wang Daoyuan was not in a hurry. The number of tier 3 craftsmen and array masters in his family was seriously insufficient. It would take at least 10 or 20 years to refine 10 flying warships, so he was not in a hurry for the time being. This negotiation did not have any specific results. It was just a mutual declaration. Both sides knew in their hearts that there would be no conflicts in the future. After chatting for a while, Gu Wangzong left. Wang Daoyuan also returned to the Clear Sky Peak and continued to study arrays. The 2 flying warships had been tested and there were no problems in all aspects. The only thing left was to install some offensive and defensive magic tools. Wang Daoyuan had a crafting legacy in his hands, but he did not have enough crafting materials. Especially for the magic tools installed on the flying warships, most of the materials were strange. Rather than wasting effort to collect materials, it was better to buy them from the Divine Weapon Pavilion. With his status as a guest elder of the Divine Weapon Pavilion and Lei Yanzhenren's disciple, it was not a problem for the Wang family to get some discounts. There was no need for him to do this. He could just let Zhao Liang do it. Refining the flying warships was the most cost-effective way to practice arrays. There were still some tier 3 materials. During the Golden Core ceremony, the Divine Weapon Pavilion gave him 5,000 caddies of tier 3 materials. These materials were definitely not enough to refine an entire high-grade tier 3 flying warship. But it was more than enough to refine the dragon bones in the core of the warship. Master should have guessed that he would refine the flying warships, so these materials were all non-elemental. As for the ship's ribs, side plates and the like, they could do without tier 3 materials. Using tier 3 materials to refine a tier 3 upper magic tool was the limit of crafting. Even tier 4 craftsmen did not have full confidence. Wang Daoyuan did not have that confidence. Using the smelting method to refine the essence of tier 3 upper materials and fuse it into tier 3 lower star steel could make its strength reach the level of tier 3 middle materials. It would not be difficult to refine a high-grade Tier 3 magic artifact with middle-grade Tier 3 materials. When he went out to travel, he collected a lot of Tier 3 upper materials. His family had done business with the oasis for more than 100 years and had collected some. To refine a Tier 3 upper flying warship, he could still barely gather the materials. However, Wang Daoyuan did not rashly start refining the flying warship. After all, his crafting level was still a little short of Tier 3 upper. First, he used those materials that were not suitable for refining the flying warship. He could refine some magic tools first. His divine sense was strong enough and his foundation was solid enough. In a month's time, he successfully refined a Tier 3 upper magic tool. After another half a year of practice, he could use Tier 2 middle materials to refine a Tier 2 upper magic tool. Then it was time to refine the warship core. The Tier 3 upper material given by the Divine Weapon Pavilion was called Silver Light Mysterious Iron, which was also a non-elemental material. It was best to use non-elemental materials to refine the core and dragon bones of the flying warship. A flying warship refined in this way could be matched with a magic tool of the 5 elements. Otherwise, the set of offensive and defensive magic tools would be relatively simple. For example, a flying warship refined with blood fire hibiscus could only be equipped with a fire attribute magic tool. When encountering a water attribute cultivator of the same level, it would be completely suppressed. The strength of the Silver Light Mysterious Iron was still very high and could be directly used to refine offensive and defensive magic tools. If he could completely use this thing to refine a flying warship, it would not be a problem to fight against several Peak Sifu realm cultivators. It was just that the cost was too high. Wang Daoyuan did not care about this and directly started refining the flying warship core. After using a month's time, he finally succeeded in refining a core component. This also meant that his formation skills had reached Tier 3 upper. After that, he used 2 years to refine a 30-meter-long third-grade flying warship. After testing, there was no problem with this flying warship. If it was equipped with offensive and defensive magic tools, it could definitely fight a Peak Sifu realm cultivator head-on. If he was not afraid of using up spirit stones, its speed could also reach 6,000 miles in 2 hours, which was faster than most Peak Sifu realm cultivators flying on their swords. Wang Daoyuan's formation skills had reached Tier 3 upper. He could set up a Tier 3 upper spirit nurturing formation. With the spirit nurturing formation, he could fuse sufficient spirit vein origin into the spirit vein. After nourishing it for a period of time, it would be possible to upgrade the spirit vein. Chapter 532. As long as there was a third-rank upper-grade formation master, it would not be difficult to set up the spirit nurturing formation. However, the source of the spirit vein was difficult to find. To restore the Jade Spring Peak spirit vein to the 4th-rank lower grade, one would need to find a 4th-rank water attribute spirit vein. Currently, there were no 4th-rank spirit veins in South Yen County. There were many 4th-rank spirit veins in North Mountain Sky Beheading Mountain Range and Huiyan Mountain Range, but they were all owned. For example, there was a 4th-rank middle-grade spirit vein in the Netherworld sect's Netherwater River. Wang Daoyuan wanted to dig up the spirit vein in the Netherworld sect, but the Netherworld sect would not agree. There were only 2 4th-rank water attribute spirit veins in the vicinity. One was the Wanchuan River. If he dared to go to the bottom of the river to extract the source of the spirit vein, he would be besieged. He would definitely be besieged by the 4th-rank aquatic demonic beasts, and it would be difficult for him to come out alive. The other was the Gui Water Nether Spring. Although the Gui Water Nether Spring's spirit energy was heavy, it was still a 4th-rank spirit spring, and a 4th-rank middle-grade spirit spring. The underground spirit vein that the Gui Water Nether Spring belonged to was at least 100 miles long. This scale was not much smaller than the Jade Spring Peak spirit vein. The scale and grade were not bad. The only flaw was that the source of the spirit vein contained yin qi. If it was directly integrated into the Jade Spring Peak spirit vein, the spirit energy produced by the spirit vein would contain some yin qi. This yin qi could gradually disappear or it could always exist. With the dense yin qi, clansmen with lower cultivation would not be able to cultivate there. It would be best to use the Scarlet Yang True Fire to dissolve the yin qi. This way, a part of the spirit vein's source would be consumed. To extract the source of the spirit vein, one not only had to look at the grade of the spirit vein, but also the scale of the spirit vein. The grade of the spirit vein determined the quality of the spirit vein's source. and the scale of the spirit vein determined its quantity. In terms of grade of spirit vein, Wang Daoyuan carried 5 fourth-rank lower-grade spirit veins with him. The water attribute spirit vein in the space of the spirit pearl was of sufficient grade, but it was only a few dozen feet long. Even if he squeezed it dry, the water attribute spirit vein source was far from enough to upgrade the spirit vein of the Jade Spring Peak. Ever since the spirit pearl was repaired, the spirit vein's growth rate had increased rapidly. In just a few short years, the 5 spirit veins were already close to the mid-grade of the 4th stage, and their lengths had already exceeded 50 feet. Currently, Wang Daoyuan didn't have any Tier 4 phase that could increase his cultivation level, nor did he have a Tier 4 spirit vein for him to cultivate. Usually, when he cultivated, the spiritual energy in the outside world was insufficient. In order not to affect the speed of his cultivation, he took out some from the space in the spiritual pearl. The surroundings of the 5 spirit veins also changed greatly. The corpse of the jade-scaled flood dragon had already disappeared, completely merging with the wood-attributed spirit veins. Now the spiritual qi produced by the wood-attribute spiritual vein should have a trace of dragon qi. Wang Daoyuan couldn't sense the dragon qi directly, but the jade dragon algae beside him grew extremely lush, and a few of them had broken through to the 2nd stage. The Qing River carps in the fish pond also liked to lean towards the wood attribute spirit vein. Based on this, he guessed that there should be some dragon qi there. The amount of water in the spirit spring in the water attributed spirit vein had also increased. The spirit spring water that was born when he first found all 5 elements spiritual fires was very little at the beginning, and it would take 7 or 8 minutes to fill up a teacup. Now the amount of water that gushed out in one breath could fill up a teacup. The mound near the earth-attributed spirit vein was now more than 5 feet in diameter. And the mound had begun to transform into rock, and now it looked between soil and rock. In the future, this mound might really become a mountain. Around the metal-attributed spirit vein, a small stone also appeared. This stone wasn't big, and the part that was exposed to the ground was only more than a foot long, more than 7 inches tall, and only 3 inches wide. The stone contained some kind of metallic substance that looked like ore. Near the fire-attributed spirit vein, the change was the smallest. Only under the scarlet sun primordial fire's subfire, a bowl-sized lava lake appeared. The grade of the spirit vein was high enough and the spiritual energy was rich. The growth of the 5 elements spiritual fire subfire was also extremely fast. The life spiritual fire subfire had already reached Tier 3 superior grade, and the other 4 subfires were also Tier 3 middle grade. The area of the spiritual pearl space had also grown much faster, and now it had exceeded 43 mu. Now that the area of the spirit field had grown, not only did the edges of the space grow, but the interior was also changing. Wang Daoyuan also discovered this by observing the distance between the 5 subfires. In the past, the position of the dust-returning flame subfire was 50 feet away from the other 4 subfires. Now that the distance had become 50 feet and a half inches, this meant that the spirit field in the spiritual pearl space was expanding in all directions with the earth-attributed spirit vein as the center. After Wang Daoyuan passed the golden core heavenly tribulation, there were more gifts from heaven and earth, and some of them were drawn into the spiritual pearl space. The spirit plants in the space also had a lot of harvest. Ordinary spirit plants didn't absorb too much, and there were no obvious changes. A few special spirit plants absorbed a lot of golden energy, and the changes were also very obvious. The peach tree sapling had grown to more than a foot tall, and its grade had also reached Tier 4 inferior grade. Also reaching Tier 4 inferior grade were the largest blood fire hibiscus and yellow spring willow. When exploring True Lord Hundred Spirits Cave, he cut off a few tender branches of the hidden cloud tea tree and planted them near the life spiritual fire. 3 of them survived, and now they were more than a foot tall and Tier 4 inferior grade. There were also some spirit plants that advanced to Tier 3, such as the Foundation Establishment Pill's main ingredient, the Xinyuan fruit tree. The earliest Xinyuan gourd vines that were planted finally grew to Tier 3 inferior grade. Wang Daoyuan wanted to let the Xinyuan gourd vines grow a little more, so he planted a few gourd vines near each spiritual fire to see if they could bear a single attribute gourd. The red-feathered crow's natal feather had completely grown out, and its cultivation had already reached the limit of Tier 3. Not long ago it fell into a deep sleep and it might be about to break through. Mythical beasts and demonic beasts also had to undergo tribulation when they reached Tier 4, but the intensity of the tribulation was different for different species. If it transformed, it would have to undergo a transformation tribulation. There were many types of demonic beasts and different types had different tribulations. Some demonic beasts might undergo a breakthrough tribulation together with a transformation tribulation, but the bloodline of mythical beasts generally wouldn't do so together. In any case, the red-feathered crow couldn't escape from this tribulation. It had been staying in the spiritual pearls space, and he didn't know if there would be a lightning tribulation. What surprised Wang Daoyuan the most was that the flow of time in the spiritual pearls space had changed again. Now it was not like before where the flow of time directly doubled but slowly accelerated. Now the flow of time in the space was more than 40 times that of the outside world but less than 41 times. Although the flow of time increased very slowly, it was a good thing that it could increase. Wang Daoyuan took out dozens of array discs that had not been inscribed with array patterns from the spiritual pearls space. This was to refine the array discs of the spirit nourishing array and the dragon locking array. The array to lock the spirit vein was very simple. The 5 elements dragon locking array on Fallen Dragon Ridge's Jade Pine Mountain could be used to lock the spirit vein. It was just that the extracted spirit vein's origin couldn't be stored for a long time. Without the spirit nourishing array, extracting the spirit vein's origin was useless. Therefore Wang Daoyuan hadn't extracted the spirit vein's origin before. Now that he could refine the spirit nourishing array, he could extract the spirit vein's origin. However, integrating the spirit vein's origin into the spirit vein was not foolproof. The spirit vein of the Jade Spring Peak was the foundation of the ancestors and couldn't be touched lightly. It was better to find other spirit veins to practice. After refining the 5 elements dragon locking array and the spirit nourishing array, Wang Daoyuan left the Blue Cloud Peak and secretly went to the Spirit Spring Cave abode at the foot of the Mirror Iron Mountain. He planned to extract a small amount of the water attribute spirit vein's origin from the spiritual pearls space and test it out by integrating it into the Jade Butterfly Spring. The spirit vein in the spiritual pearls space grew very quickly. Extracting a little of the spirit vein's origin should be able to recover quickly. The Jade Butterfly Spring was only a low-grade Tier 2 spirit spring. If he integrated a little of the Tier 4 spirit vein's origin, as long as the integration was successful, its grade would definitely increase significantly. Even if he failed, it would at most cause some damage to the Jade Butterfly Spring, and it wouldn't be an unbearable loss. Chapter 533. Wang Daoyuan used the Earth Escape technique and arrived at the Spirit Spring Cave abode. There was a member of the Tong generation guarding the cave abode. When he saw him, he immediately bowed and called him Great-Grandpa. The way he called him Great-Grandpa made him very emotional. When he found the Spirit Spring Cave abode, he was only 20 years old. Now even the juniors of the Tong generation could hold their own. There were also people of the Xian generation below him. He was now a true ancestor. Wang Daoyuan asked this junior to cultivate elsewhere for the time being. Then he took out a formation plate and started to set up a spirit nurturing formation around the Jade Butterfly Spring. At the same time, his clone Cui Ming set up the 5 elements dragon lock formation in the space of the spirit pearl to lock the water spirit vein and extract its origin. Wang Daoyuan sent the black tortoise shield into the space of the spirit pearl to store the extracted origin. The main material of the black tortoise shield was the spirit spring pearl, which was nurtured by the origin of the spirit vein. Using the black tortoise shield to store the origin of the spirit vein would allow it to be stored for a longer period of time. Extracting the origin of the spirit vein was not difficult. A day later, the water spirit vein in the space was almost degraded by the extraction. A colorless water droplet the size of a soybean appeared in the black tortoise shield. Then he used a secret technique to break open the small spirit vein in the Jade Butterfly Spring. The origin of the spirit vein began to dissipate. He took out the black tortoise shield and guided the colorless water droplet into the small spirit vein. At the same time, he activated the spirit nurturing formation. After the colorless water droplet left the black tortoise shield, it also dissipated rapidly. After entering the Jade Butterfly Spring, most of the dissipated origin could still remain in the Jade Butterfly Spring due to the restriction of the spirit nurturing formation. Wang Daoyuan used a secret technique to repair the spirit vein. The success rate of this secret technique was not high. Even a golden core cultivator was not confident of success. If the repair failed, the spirit vein would be severely damaged. The spirit vein in the jade butterfly spring was too small. It was not even as big as the water spirit vein in the space. Sealing the hole was not too difficult. It was done. Wang Daoyuan could not help much. He could only keep changing the spirit stones on the formation plate to maintain the operation of the formation. 7 days later, the concentration of spirit qi in the jade butterfly spring began to increase. At this stage, there was no longer any risk of the spirit vein being destroyed. As for how far it could grow, that would depend on its luck. The jade butterfly spring's small spirit vein was small, and the spirit vein origin extracted from it was enough for him to advance to low-grade rank 3. After a month, the small spirit vein was upgraded to the 3rd level of the lower grade, and the spirit vein source that was fused with it was basically exhausted. He waited here for more than a month until the small spirit vein in the jade butterfly spring completely stabilized. Only then did he put away the spirit nurturing array disc. The current spirit spring abode was completely capable of supporting an initial stage Violet Palace Realm cultivator to cultivate here. Wang Daoyuan left the spirit spring cavern and returned to the jade spring peak to set up the spirit nurturing array. The jade spring peak's spirit vein stretched for several hundred miles under the ground. With such a large spirit vein, it was simply unrealistic to rely on array discs to set up a spirit nurturing array. He still had to set up a formation core, connect it to the spirit vein, and set up a large-scale formation that could envelop the entire jade spring peak. The spirit nurturing array had a total of 30 ordinary array eyes and 1 core array eye. The core array core was naturally placed near the jade dragon spring, while the other array cores were distributed along the spirit vein. In order to keep this a secret, only Wang Daoyuan's second brother and the 12th uncle knew about this. 5th great-uncle had to take care of the affairs of the administrator's estate and didn't have the time to care about this. If second brother knew about this matter, the entire South Swallow County would know about it in a few days. Since he wanted to keep it a secret, he naturally couldn't let others do it. He had to set up the entire formation himself. It took him half a year to finish setting up the formation. After setting up the spirit nurturing array, he could go to the Gui Water Nether Spring and extract the spirit vein source. The 12th uncle was guarding the Jade Spring Peak, and Wang Daoyuan had an unlimited supply of purple rhythm pills and 3rd-level hidden cloud tea. His cultivation progress was extremely fast. He was currently at the late-stage Violet Palace realm and wasn't far from the peak stage. When the 12th uncle formed his gold core, he could appoint him as the deputy administrator of the South Swallow County. Then he would have enough time to go to Zhou Wan's place and ponder about life. The spirit nurturing array had been set up. Before extracting the spirit vein source of the Gui Water Nether Spring, there was no rush. Wang Daoyuan ran to the North Mountain branch and discussed some things with Zhou Wan in depth. After staying for more than a month, he left the underground branch and went to the Gui Water Nether Spring. Ordinary gold core cultivators were not afraid of the cold yin qi of the Gui Water Nether Spring, and there was no problem to go in directly. Wang Daoyuan had the 5 elements spiritual fire to protect him, so he was even less afraid of this. It was just that he had consumed too much in the past month, so he was not in a hurry to enter the Gui Water Nether Spring. He first recovered outside for a few days. After that, he opened a small hole in the water storage space and used the cloud mist escape to directly escape in. Wang Daoyuan's cloud mist escape had reached the level of being able to turn into mist. When he used the cloud mist escape, his body merged with the clouds and mist, and he could easily pass through gaps that were much smaller than his body. It was just that this state put a lot of pressure on the body and couldn't be maintained for a long time. When he used the cloud mist escape in the water, he could naturally merge with the water and enter the Gui Water Nether Spring through the previously dug water storage space and water channel. In this thousands of feet deep underground, it was too difficult to lock a spiritual vein that was more than 100 miles long. If he was not careful, he could let the Netherworld sect completely bid farewell to the yin qi. Extracting the origin of the spiritual vein could only lock a part of the spiritual vein. It was just that in this way the damage to the spiritual vein was relatively great. However, Wang Daoyuan didn't care. The Gui Water Nether Spring was seriously damaged, and it was the Netherworld sect and the Xianxia market that were cheated. It had nothing to do with him. Moreover, this damage was not permanent. It could still be recovered in time. He used the cloud mist escape through the underground water vein, drilled to the vicinity of the spiritual vein in various places, and set up the array disc. The core array disc was placed near the spring eye. The array disc was placed in various water veins. It was not realistic to replace the spirit stones, so he simply connected the array disc to the spiritual vein. After setting up all the array discs, he activated the 5 elements dragon lock formation and locked a section of the spiritual vein that was more than 10 miles long. He extracted the origin of the spiritual vein from the spring eye, but these spiritual veins were all black. This was different from the water spiritual vein in the space. Although that water spiritual vein also gave birth to a black spiritual spring with yin qi, the spiritual vein was still a normal water spiritual vein. This spiritual vein of the gui water nether spring had a large amount of yin qi, and the yin qi in the origin of the spiritual vein was extremely heavy. Wang Daoyuan stored all the extracted origin of the spiritual vein into the black tortoise shield. After staying here for more than half a month, the origin of the spiritual vein in the black tortoise shield had already accumulated into a black water ball with a diameter of more than a foot. The concentration of the spiritual qi in the gui water nether spring had also dropped to the level of the 3rd level upper grade. This amount of origin was enough to upgrade the spiritual vein of the jade spring peak. Wang Daoyuan closed the 5 elements dragon lock formation, but he did not take away the array disc. If the origin of the spiritual vein was not enough, it would be more convenient to come here to extract it. He escaped from the gui water nether spring, sealed the hole that he dug and left the karst cave. In order to save time and avoid using up too much of the spiritual vein's origin, he slightly concealed his figure and flew back to Mount Yen on his sword, heading straight for the Jade Spring Peak. When he was still more than 5,000 li away from the Jade Spring Peak, he sent a message to the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother, telling them to activate the Spirit Nurturing Formation and close the Mountain Protecting Formation. After arriving at the Jade Spring Peak, he went straight to the secret treasury under the Ancestral Temple. The escape passage at the bottom of the treasury was very close to the Jade Spring Peak's spiritual vein. Wang Daoyuan came to the escape passage and first used the Scarlet Yang True Fire to refine the origin of the spiritual vein that he brought back. He removed the yin qi and consumed a quarter of the spiritual vein's origin. Then he broke through the rock layer between the spiritual vein and the escape passage. Although the Jade Spring Peak's spiritual vein was of the 3rd level upper grade, its foundation was still of the 4th level middle grade. After breaking through the rock layer, he saw the water blue crystal of the spiritual vein. Using a secret technique, he cut a 3-inch long gap in the crystal of the spiritual vein. A rich spiritual qi mixed with the spiritual vein's origin gushed out. At this time, the spiritual qi gushing out of the Jade Dragon Spring rapidly weakened. The clansmen on the mountain were somewhat astonished. The 3rd brother comforted everyone according to the prepared speech. Wang Daoyuan immediately poured the refined spiritual vein's origin into the gap, and then sealed the gap. With too much spiritual qi gushing out, it was even more difficult to seal the gap. It took 3 days to seal the gap, and the concentration of spiritual qi outside no longer decreased. Chapter 534. Wang Daoyuan heaved a sigh of relief and once again sealed the stone wall between the spirit vein crystal and the escape route. He had done everything he could. What would happen next would depend on the luck of the spirit vein. After waiting for half a month, the density of spiritual qi in the spirit vein began to slowly increase. This time he was completely relieved. The spirit vein of Jade Spring Peak wasn't damaged. Even if it couldn't break through to the 4th rank, it would at least be stronger than before. In fact, Jade Spring Peak's spirit vein still had a foundation of the 4th rank. Even if it was left alone, it would recover to the 4th rank in a few thousand years. However, the Wang clan's current development speed was very fast, and they couldn't wait for a few thousand years. A Golden Core Realm clan without a 4th rank spirit vein was always a little lacking in confidence. In the following days, 3rd brother sent all the clan members who had nothing to do to other spirit veins to cultivate, so as not to disturb the spirit vein's advancement. The spirit vein essence of Jade Spring Peak was relatively large. After a month, the density of spiritual qi gushing out of the Jade Dragon Spring was still increasing. At this time, the density of spiritual qi had already reached the limit of the high grade of the 3rd rank, and it could become a low grade of the 4th rank at any time. However, the increasing density of spiritual qi showed no signs of slowing down. There was no longer any suspense as to whether Jade's Spring Peak spirit vein could advance to the 4th rank. The only thing worth looking forward to was whether it could advance to the middle grade of the 4th rank. Sure enough, 3 days later, the spiritual qi produced by Jade's Spring Peak spirit vein finally reached the low grade of the 4th rank. However, the spiritual qi still contained an extremely thin amount of pure yin qi. This kind of subtle change was impossible for cultivators below the Golden Core realm to detect. As long as the density of pure yin qi wasn't too high, it wouldn't cause any harm to the human body. The clan members had already begun to celebrate. With a 4th rank spirit vein, the other clan members would have a place to form their core. This was a true Golden Core realm clan. Another month passed and the density of spiritual qi gushing out of the spirit vein no longer increased. Although Jade's Spring Peak spirit vein hadn't grown to the middle grade of the 4th rank, it was almost there. It wouldn't be a problem for cultivators to form their core, and the scale of the spirit vein was large enough. With formations like spirit gathering formations, it wouldn't be a problem for late-stage Golden Core realm cultivators to cultivate. In addition, with Jade's Spring Peak's unique location, it could completely recover to the middle grade of the 4th rank in the future, and there was no need to continue taking risks to merge with the spirit vein's origin. After the spirit vein stabilized, Wang Daoyuan removed the spirit nurturing array. The 3rd brother Wang Daochong was extremely happy. During his time as the clan head, the clan's spirit veins had recovered to the 4th level, and all Golden Core cultivators had been eliminated. No matter what, as the patriarch, he would be able to leave his mark in the history of the family. He took out tens of thousands of spirit stones worth of resources to reward all of his clansmen, and the entire Wang clan fell into a state of ecstasy. Some people were happy while others were sad. In the mountain gate of the Netherworld sect, Luo Jiuyo Gu Wangzong, and the 5 supreme elders gathered in a dark stone room underground. The sound of flowing water came from the bottom of the stone room. The walls of the stone room were engraved with dense array patterns. The 7 of them frowned. Luo Jiuyo let out a long sigh. The yin qi has decreased by 20%. It has been more than 2 months, but it still hasn't recovered. Grand Supreme Elder Zhou Xian comforted everyone. It's not a big deal. It's not like the Darkwater River's yin qi hasn't fluctuated before. Over 100 years ago, there had even been cases where yin energy had completely disappeared. Didn't they reappear a few years later? This time they might recover in a few years. There's no need to worry too much. Reducing the yin qi by 20% is just a matter of saving a little. If Wang Daoyuan heard this, he would definitely ridicule him. Too much of the spirit vein of the Gui Water Nether Spring had been extracted. It would take at least a few thousand years for it to recover to its original state. According to the speed of expansion of the Wang clan, even if they didn't fight head-on, it would only take a few hundred years to crush the Netherworld sect. How would they have time to wait for the yin qi to recover? On the Yuchuan Peak, everyone finished celebrating and began to busy themselves. Wang Daoyuan stayed in his cave and continued to study the Tao of Array. The Yuchuan Peak's spirit vein had recovered to the 4th level, which was enough to support the Myriad Water Origin Array. With the Myriad Water Origin formation, the Wang clan would be able to survive the next beast tide. However, to set up the Myriad Water Origin Array, one would need at least a 4th level low-grade array master. Although he had the 4th level array inheritance left by the 5-element spiritual master, it would still take some time to really break through to the 4th level. In addition to studying the array, he also took the time to refine some bloodline pills. In addition to refining for Yun-Yi, he also refined some with the blood essence of the Jade Scale Flood Dragon. The 12th uncle's Qingjiang carp was also growing fast. Its cultivation was now about to reach the 2nd level high grade. The bloodline pills refined with the blood essence of the Jade Scale Flood Dragon could help it awaken its dragon bloodline and improve its cultivation. Since the last time he forced Yun-Yi to lose weight, this guy had been avoiding him. Now the Yuchuan Peak spirit vein had advanced. The 4th level water spirit vein was extremely attractive to any water attribute demon beast. In addition, Wang Daoyuan ordered the clansmen not to feed it barbecued meat. Yun-Yi, a guy with almost no willpower, obediently returned to the Yuchuan Peak. It stayed in Wang Daoyuan's cave, wanting to sell its dignity in exchange for barbecued meat. Unfortunately, Wang Daoyuan only fed it bloodline pills and told it that after breaking through to the 3rd level, it could eat barbecued meat at will. Before breaking through, it only had bloodline pills. Yun Yi, who hadn't cultivated much, finally worked hard. After staying in the Yichuan Peak for more than a month, Wang Daoyuan received a message from his fifth granduncle. Some powerful cultivators in the Qingli market had come to seek refuge, and his fifth granduncle didn't know how to deal with them. Wang Daoyuan let Yun Yi continue to stay in the Yichuan Peak to cultivate, while he rode a cloud to the Qingli market. His fifth granduncle received the cultivators who came to seek refuge in the meeting hall. After Wang Daoyuan walked into the meeting hall, he saw 11 late-stage and peak-stage foundation establishment cultivators in the room. He didn't restrain his aura. The group of foundation establishment cultivators bowed and said, "Greetings, Administrator." Only a young 8th-level foundation establishment cultivator directly knelt down and bowed. Grandnephew Wang Dezhao greets 7th granduncle. This young man was more than 8 feet tall, had a strong body and had a simple and honest appearance. He gave people the feeling that he was a rash cultivator. However, the craftiness in his eyes inadvertently showed that this person was also a master who pretended to be a pig to eat a tiger. Wang Daoyuan liked this kind of juniors. They wouldn't suffer any losses when they went out. He didn't really care about the clan's trivial matters. Among the cultivators in the clan, he could only recognize those of the Dao generation. After that, he only recognized foundation establishment cultivators. He knew all the foundation establishment cultivators in the clan, both on the surface and in the dark, but Wang Dezhao wasn't one of them. However, looking at his face, he did look somewhat familiar. He should be a descendant of the clan. Seeing that she didn't recognize this person, his fifth granduncle said with a smile, "Dezhao is your fourth brother's grandson, Daoqing. Just like you, he went out to make his way as soon as he reached the late stage of the aura refining realm. He hasn't returned home for several decades. I just verified that he's indeed Dezhao." Wang Daoyuan understood. No wonder he looked somewhat familiar. He indeed looked a bit like his fourth brother. He promptly helped Wang Dezhao up and said with a smile, "Quickly get up." When 9th granduncle was still alive, he hoped that one of his descendants could become a foundation establishment cultivator. But your grandfather and several other uncles weren't very talented. Now that I have you, 9th granduncle can smile in the underworld. I see that you're still young. You shouldn't be 100 years old yet, right? Wang Dezhao stood up and cupped his hands. Reporting to granduncle, I'm not even 90 years old yet. Wang Daoyuan nodded in satisfaction. Good. I've always been worried that there wouldn't be any outstanding figures among the younger generation. Now that I've met you, I don't have to worry anymore. What are the origins of these little friend of yours? Why did they come to seek refuge in the administrator's estate? Wang Dezhao bowed and saluted. Reporting to granduncle, these 10 Daoyu are my companions who kill demonic beasts to earn resources with me. Ever since you proposed to the Netherworld sect that year that all forces were allowed to refine foundation building pills, the price of demonic beast cores skyrocketed. Many loose cultivators formed teams to hunt third-rank demonic beasts. This is the kind of business that your grandson and these 10 fellow Taoists are doing. With the help of third-rank formations and third-rank magic tools, we can attack weaker third-rank demonic beasts and take them down without paying too much of a price. Chapter 535. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual sense to scan the other 10 foundation building cultivators. These people all carried a strong murderous aura. They were all people who had experienced a lot of life and death situations. For such people to be able to live until the late stage of the foundation building realm, they either had heaven-defying luck or they had real skills. 11 late-stage and peak-stage foundation building cultivators with rich experience in fights of magical power, coupled with formations and third-rank magic tools, it really wasn't difficult to kill an ordinary third-rank low-grade demonic beast. An inner core used to be worth around 100,000 spirit stones, but it was hard to say what the current situation was. The corpse of a relatively large third-rank low-grade demonic beast without an inner core could also be worth more than 400,000 spirit stones. The two added together could be worth 500,000 spirit stones. If there were no other losses, each person could earn more than 40,000 spirit stones. Even if this business was done once a year, it was still an extremely high income for foundation building cultivators who weren't proficient in pill refining, tools and talisman arrays. No one would do a losing business, but they would rush to do a killing business. As long as there were enough benefits, There were plenty of people who weren't afraid of death. Wang Daoyuan asked, "If you have this kind of livelihood, why are you willing to join my administrator's mansion?" The foundation building cultivators of the administrator's mansion only earn a salary of more than 2,000 spirit stones a year. It can't compare to hunting third-rank demonic beasts. Wang Dezhao replied, "This bowl of rice isn't delicious. How can the weak fight the strong be absolutely safe? If you're not careful, magic tools and formation discs will be damaged. Third-rank magic tools aren't something that can be found on the street. If they're damaged, it'll be difficult to buy a suitable one. Without a suitable magic tool in hand, it's inevitable that there will be casualties. I've been doing this for more than 10 years, and every year at least one or two of my companions have died in the hands of demonic beast. Therefore, my companions and I want to join the administrator's mansion and find a job." Wang Daoyuan also wanted to accept these 10 people. They had extremely rich experience in hunting third-rank demonic beasts and could provide the administrator's mansion with materials for foundation building pills and third-rank refining materials. He could also let them lead the cultivators of the Guardian Hall to kill third-rank demonic beasts and accumulate experience in dealing with beast tides in the future. Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "I don't have any objections to taking you in, but it's a waste of your talents to make you the same as the other Guardian Hall cultivators. I plan to set up a monster execution division under the Hall of Guardians to recruit rogue cultivators like you. Third-level magic tools, medicinal pills, talismans, and formation plates will be provided by the administrator's mansion. There will also be flying warships to protect you. You can continue to hunt demonic beasts. While you're at it, help me train the other cultivators in the Guardian Hall and teach them how to fight against demonic beast. After killing the demonic beast, the corpse, including the Niden, must be sold to the administrator's mansion at market price. The administrator's mansion would take 50% of the profits, and the rest would be distributed among the participating cultivators according to their contributions. What do you think?" The 10 rogue cultivators agreed to this suggestion without any hesitation. The conditions offered by Wang Daoyuan were too generous. Everything was covered by the administrator's mansion. As long as they didn't take the initiative to enter deep into the heavenly/mountain range to seek death, there would be almost no danger to their lives and there wouldn't be any losses. With this condition, the administrator's mansion actually didn't have much profit except for the raw materials for the foundation establishment pill. However, what Wang Daoyuan wanted wasn't profit. Now he could make a lot of money just by relying on the 2 trade routes of Green Willow Province and returning Wild Goose Market. What he lacked wasn't spirit stones, but people who could deal with third-rank demonic beasts. Seeing that they didn't have any objections, Wang Daoyuan ordered, "The Guardian Hall will set up a monster execution division under the Hall Master's personal jurisdiction. The daily treatment of cultivators in the monster execution division is the same as other cultivators. In the future, if they make great contributions, they will have the opportunity to obtain spirit veins and establish a clan. Fifth granduncle, you can arrange them." Fifth granduncle got up and was about to take them away. Wang Dezhao hurriedly said, reporting to granduncle, "I have one more thing to report. There's another reason we came to the administrator's mansion this time. We discovered an ancient cultivator's Immortal's cave and obtained some things we have no use for. Therefore, we want to sell these things to the clan in exchange for some resources." The value of an ancient cultivator's Immortal's cave was still extremely high. Even if the Immortal's cultivation wasn't high, there might still be some inheritances from the distant past era or spiritual objects that were almost invisible in the outside world. Things taken from an ancient cultivator's Immortal's cave were more or less useful. Wang Daoyuan asked, "Take them out and let me take a look. As long as they're useful, you won't be short of benefits." Hearing his guarantee, the 11 people's faces lit up with joy. A big man at the peak of Foundation establishment took out several tattered animal skin pages from his storage pouch. Wang Daoyuan took the animal skin pages and examined them. He found that the things recorded inside were very miscellaneous. There were pill recipes, magic tool refining methods, and some cultivation methods and secret manuals. Not many of them were complete and had almost no practical value. They could only be used as a reference. He also didn't haggle with this group of juniors and said, "These pages are 5,000 spirit stones each. Take out whatever you have left." Seeing that he offered a price, the others also took out the animal skin pages. In total, there were more than 40 pages, Some people also took out tattered magic tools, but these things were really useless, so Wang Daoyuan didn't take them. In the end, Wang Dezhao took out a shriveled fruit and a complete animal skin book. This shriveled fruit was curled up into a ball, and its skin was purple gold. The spiritual qi in the fruit had already dissipated, and it was impossible to tell what grade of spiritual object it was. There were also 10 sesame-sized seeds inside. Wang Daoyuan took out the seeds and condensed a water ball in his hand, wrapping the shriveled fruit inside. Soon the fruit was soaked and expanded to a diameter of more than 3 inches. This time Wang Daoyuan recognized what it was. It was a 4th-grade low-grade spiritual fruit, purple gold chalcedony fruit. This was also the main ingredient for refining the purple gold essence cultivating pill. The chalcedony cultivating pill was a medicinal pill used by golden core cultivators to increase their cultivation. After the seeds of the purple gold chalcedony fruit were planted, it would take 1,000 years for it to bloom and bear fruit. After that, it would bear fruit once every 1,000 years. Even if the seeds were planted now, it would take 2,000 years for it to bear fruit. Even with the space of the spirit pearl, it would take close to 50 years. The other supplementary ingredients for the chalcedony cultivating pill were not difficult to find. With this purple gold chalcedony fruit, the other spirit herbs would be easy to find. As for the complete animal skin book, it was called the Heart Sutra of Clouds and Rain. Looking at the name, he really didn't know what it was. After flipping open the cover, it introduced the Heart Sutra of Clouds and Rain. This book was not a proper cultivation technique, but a dual cultivation secret technique. It was created by a golden core couple more than 30,000 years ago. This couple should be the owners of the cave abode. This couple was also a weirdo. Not only did they create a dual cultivation secret technique, there were even illustrations in the secret manual. Wang Daoyuan had seen all kinds of things in his previous life, so he was not affected at all when he saw these things. Putting away the animal skin book, he said, "This fruit is the purple gold chalcedony fruit, used to refine a 4th-grade medicinal pill. It's a pity that the fruit's medicinal effects are already gone, and I don't know if the seeds left behind can sprout. I'll give you 2,000 spirit stones for 1 seed. This animal skin book is a secret technique left behind by a golden core cultivator, so I'll give you 100,000 spirit stones." Hearing this, Wang Dezhao was overjoyed. He didn't expect to get 100,000 spirit stones so easily. After paying the spirit stones, 5th great-uncle brought them away. Wang Daoyuan sighed. This grandnephew of his really came at the right time. The 2 things he took out were both things he urgently needed at the moment. In addition, he was 9th great-uncle's great-great-grandson, so he had to nurture him well in the future. Reaching the 8th level of foundation establishment before the age of 90 was quite talented. It wouldn't take long for him to reach the peak of foundation establishment. With enough resources, he should be able to reach it before the age of 100. Wang Daoyuan sent a message to his 3rd brother to ask about Wang Dezhao's spirit root aptitude. He learned that this grandnephew of his was a cultivator with 2 spirit roots, and his main spirit root was an 8.5-inch fire spirit root. For the time being, there weren't any clansmen with high talent in the Ming generation. The best among them only had a 3.5-inch main spirit root, which was a 3.5-inch main spirit root. Wang Dezhao's cultivation talent was the highest in the degeneration. He could be given a chance to establish a purple palace in the future. Chapter 536. The seed of the purple gold chalcedony fruit was already over 30,000 years old. It was hard to say whether it could germinate or not. He scattered it near the peach tree saplings and left it to its own devices. The scattered pages were given to the various halls of the clan for reference. As for the Heart Sutra of Clouds and Rain, he made a copy and placed it in the clan's repository. As for the illustrations, he did not make a copy. The waters were too deep and the juniors would not be able to grasp them. The original copy was naturally kept in his hands. These things still needed to be improved upon through practice. After dealing with the matters here, Wang Daoyuan returned to Jade Spring Peak. In the past few years, the Blood Shadow headquarters did not make any more trouble. They did not change Zhou Wan's authority. The headquarters' attitude did not change. The 2 of them could carry out their plan to take over the Qingli branch. After forming his core, Wang Daoyuan's range of perception over his clones had increased to 5,000 kilometers. Recently, his cultivation had improved slightly, and his range of perception had increased as well. Sensing the situation in Guiyuan market was no longer a problem. He controlled his clone to arrive at Zhou Wan's dwelling. Zhou Wan discovered that Lu Zong's clone was rather abnormal. She asked, "You've come to Guiyuan market but you didn't come personally. Why did you control a puppet to come over?" Wang Daoyuan smiled, "I'm still staying at Jade Spring Peak. I can only control puppets from 5,000 kilometers away. There hasn't been much activity from the Blood Shadow headquarters in the past few years. We can make a move on the Qingli market now." Zhou Wan nodded. "It's also time to deal with Qin Zhonggong. In the past few years I've sent some orders to the Qingli branch, but he's always been resisting. If we don't deal with him now, we won't be able to manage the Qingli branch anymore. Where do you plan on sending him?" Wang Daoyuan said without any hesitation, "I'll definitely send him to wherever it's dangerous. Why don't we send him to the Mirror Lake Oasis?" Zhou Wan's expression became strange. "Aren't you being a little too vicious? The Mirror Lake Oasis has been taken over by refined corpses. There's not even a single living person there. Whose business do you want him to do there? Even if the headquarters were to give me more power, they wouldn't agree to set up a branch here." Wang Daoyuan also felt that it was inappropriate. After thinking for a while, he answered, "Then let him go to the Falling Star Plains market. There are 3 to 4 gold core half-demon tribes there, and 2 beast herds with 4th-rank demonic beasts. That place is lively enough and business is bound to happen." The Starfall Field was located over 50,000 li northwest of Guiyuan City. It was the largest oasis in the desert. It was nearly 10,000 miles long from east to west and 4 to 5,000 miles wide from north to south. Many demons and half-demons lived there. Over the years, more and more human cultivators had entered the North Mountain. There were also many rogue cultivators who made a living there. The terrain of the Starfall Plain was flat, but there were many isolated small mountain peaks. Looking from the sky, they looked like stars. Many small mountains even had spirit springs gushing out, nourishing the entire Starfall Plateau. Zhou Wan laughed out loud. "When it comes to tricking people, you're still the best. The demons and half-demons there are really angry. If you send Qin Zhonggong there, he'll be captured by the demons and half-demons as a scapegoat." Wang Daoyuan didn't care at all. "Who cares? It's fine as long as we can fool the headquarters. Before the underworld sect reconciled with the demons in the North Mountain, didn't Elder Su trick you in the same way? Now it's his turn to be tricked. I'm also helping you vent your anger. If we throw Qin Zhonggong to the Starfall Field market, the headquarters won't object, right?" Zhou Wan answered, "That's not a problem. The headquarters never consider the risk. The direct descendants of the Blood Shadow sect aren't flowers in a greenhouse. They also receive inhuman training from a young age. Those who can't withstand it are directly eliminated. Only those who can withstand the tests of life and death can enter the Blood Wolf sect. Although Qin Zhonggong is at the bottom of the Blood Wolf sect, he's not an ordinary person. If he goes to the Starfall Field, he won't necessarily die. And the Starfall Field is currently in a period of chaos, so there's no lack of business. As long as there's business to do, the headquarters won't object." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Then it's easy. You arrange for Qin Zhonggong to go there. After he's transferred away, I'll go to the Qingli branch with the identity of the North Mountain branch's deputy hall master, Ming Hu. I'll control the Qingli branch's deputy hall master, Qian Feng. At that time the Qingli branch will be our family's." Zhou Wan nodded and asked, "When will you come over?" Wang Daoyuan smiled evilly and said, "After the Qingli branch's matter is settled, I'll go over. I've obtained a new secret art and need your cooperation." Zhou Wan looked at the doppelganger Lu Zong in front of her with an evil smile and snorted coldly. "Looking at your puppet's expression, I know that what you're cultivating isn't anything serious. I'll order Qin Zhonggong right now to go to the Starfall Field market as soon as possible and establish a branch there." Finished speaking, she took out the hall master token and sent a letter to Qin Zhonggong. After Qin Zhonggong received the letter, he did not reply either. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan were not anxious either. At this time, the one who should be anxious was Qin Zhonggong. After waiting for half a month, they did not receive Qin Zhonggong's reply but received orders from Blood Shadow headquarters. The headquarters responded that Qin Zhonggong guarded the Qingli branch for many years and had worked hard and performed high meritorious deeds. He was now transferred back to the headquarters to take up a post. The Qingli branch's hall master was appointed by Zhou Xian herself. The matter of establishing the Starfall Field branch was also handed over to her. Looks like this was Elder Su personally taking action and bailing Qin Zhonggong out. A first-grade branch hall master was also considered a high position and authority within Blood Shadow. Wanting to overrule Zhou Wan's orders was really not just some random elder saying it. It needed to be issued in the name of the headquarters. Elder Su reckoned that he had to pay a considerable price before making the other elders agree. Wang Daoyuan did not care about these things. As long as he could control the Qingli branch, it did not matter how the headquarters kicked up a fuss. 3 days later, Qin Zhonggong sent a letter to Zhou Xian, reporting the situation of his resignation. As soon as Qin Zhonggong left, it was time for Wang Daoyuan to make his move. He secretly left Jade's Spring Peak and came to Qingli Market. Blood Shadow Qingli branch's encampment was also in the Old Market, not far from the administrator's residence. Wang Daoyuan disguised himself as Ming Hu. Holding the Deputy Hall Master token, he concealed his aura and came to a weapon workshop. This weapon workshop was called Qin Clan's Weapon Workshop. It was a shop used by Blood Shadow branch to deceive others. He walked into the workshop and asked the Peak Chi refinement cultivator who received the guests, "Tell your boss that an old friend from Shanbei has come to visit and wants to ask him to forge a magic weapon." This person had a puzzled expression, not knowing what to do. Then a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivator dressed as a shopkeeper walked over. He scanned Wang Daoyuan with his divine sense but could not see through his cultivation. He hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "Senior, the boss is busy and is not here." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "I know your big boss has left. I'm looking for the second boss." Hearing this, the shopkeeper knew that he was an internal member of Blood Shadow. The shopkeeper replied, "The second boss is forging weapons in the underground fire room. Senior, please follow me." Wang Daoyuan followed behind him. There really was an underground fire room. The shopkeeper walked into the underground fire room. There was no one forging weapons here. He asked, "May I know Senior's identity?" Wang Daoyuan took out the Deputy Hall Master token and said, "Do you recognize this?" The shopkeeper immediately bowed. Qingli branch's Fong Qing greets the Deputy Hall Master. "Sir, please follow me." Then he took out a token and injected spiritual energy. The token flickered for a while and formation patterns suddenly appeared on the walls of the underground fire room. Then they disappeared and a door appeared on the back wall. Fong Qing cupped his hands and said, "Sir, this is Qingli branch's encampment." With that he entered the door. Wang Daoyuan followed closely behind. Qingli Market Square was not like Shanbei branch, which had only been established for 200 years. This was a branch with tens of thousands of years of history. He thought there was something special about it, but after entering he realized that it was not much different from Shanbei branch. It was just that the space was a little bigger and there were more cultivators. Fong Qing asked, "Sir, please wait in the meeting hall for a while. I will ask the Deputy Hall Master to see you." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "No need. Just take me to Qianfeng's cave residence. I have some confidential matters to explain." If he wanted to make a move on Qianfeng, he naturally had to do it in a secret place. A place like the meeting hall was not suitable. Chapter 537. Fong Qing took out his identity token and sent a message to Qianfeng. Then he led Wang Daoyuan to Qianfeng's cave abode. At this moment, someone was already waiting outside the cave abode. This person had a medium build and an ordinary appearance. He had a smile on his face and looked very kind. However, the murderous aura emitted from his body and the ruthlessness in his eyes from time to time showed that this person had killed a lot. Fong Qing bowed and said, "Greetings, Deputy Hall Master. This is the Deputy Hall Master of Shanbei Branch, Lord Ming Hu." Qianfeng cupped his hands and said, "Subordinate Qianfeng greets Lord Ming Hu. I heard that you have something important to discuss with me. Please come in." Qianfeng was only the Deputy Hall Master of the second-level branch, while Wang Daoyuan was the Deputy Hall Master of the first-level branch, whose status was higher than that of the second-level branch. Qianfeng naturally didn't dare to be arrogant in front of him. He bowed obediently and called himself a subordinate. Wang Daoyuan didn't say anything and just nodded. The two walked into the cave abode and Feng Qing turned and left. Qian Feng opened the defensive and soundproof array in the cave abode, then cupped his hands and said, "May I know what orders Lord Minghu has for me?" Wang Daoyuan nodded secretly. This Qian Feng was indeed sensible. He took the initiative to open the array. He wouldn't be discovered if he attacked directly. However, he still wanted to be cautious. If this Qian Feng had some special means and caused a big commotion, it would be troublesome. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "There's only the two of us here, so I won't beat around the bush." Now that Shanbei Branch's Hall Master Red Fox has reached the core formation realm, she can cover the sky in Yannan County and Shanbei. I, the Deputy Hall Master, am also suppressed by her. However, she offended Elder Su. No matter how powerful she is, she can only be arrogant in these two branches and has no future. Hall Master Qin and I are both Elder Su's people. As far as I know, you were also promoted by Hall Master Qin. You should have some understanding of Elder Su's power. As long as you work for Elder Su, no matter how miserable your job is, you can be transferred to the headquarters in the future. What do you plan to do now? Qian Feng began to think. The Su family was a big family, but he was an outsider. Qin Zhonggong was a direct descendant of Blood Shadow. Elder Su was willing to take him away, but he was an itinerant cultivator. Just as he thought of this, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his head and instantly lost consciousness. Just as he was thinking, Wang Daoyuan struck out with the soul-splitting blade. After obtaining Devourer's Soul Devourer Demon Inheritance, Wang Daoyuan made some improvements to the soul-splitting blade, increasing its power by a lot. Now that his cultivation had reached the golden core stage, his divine sense was far superior to his peers. Qian Feng was only a middle-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator, and no matter how great his ability was, he was powerless before the Soul Splitter blade. Wang Daoyuan immediately took out a fragment of his soul and sent it into his sea of consciousness. After that, he put Qian Feng into the spiritual pearl space and waited for the soul fragment to fuse with his body and soul. Wang Daoyuan's soul that had been stored in the soul-nurturing pendant for close to 100 years had been seriously corroded by the aura of death. Now that he had the Azure Dragon Pearl, he often used the life force in the Azure Dragon Pearl to get rid of the death aura of these divided souls. At this rate, he would be able to continue using these split souls in a few hundred years. Half a day later, the fusion of the split soul and the avatar was completed. Wang Daoyuan checked Qian Feng's memories and found that this guy was really not a good person. He was an itinerant cultivator and spent all his time at the edge of the sky/mountain range. He did not have any skills, but his fighting strength was not bad. He had always relied on killing people and stealing treasures to cultivate. His talent was not bad. He was a 3-spirit root cultivator, and his main spirit root was a 7-inch 7-part fire spirit root. The cultivation techniques and dharma spells he cultivated were very miscellaneous and not of much value. Qian Feng entered Blood Shadow when he was in the late-stage foundation establishment stage after being chosen by Qin Zhonggong. Now he was able to open up his Purple Palace realm because of Blood Shadow. This guy's loyalty to Qin Zhonggong was relatively high, and he was also considered one of Elder Su's men. From his memories, he learned that before Qin Zhonggong left, he left behind a few trusted aides with low cultivation and poor talent. Wang Daoyuan was not interested in the spiritual items in the treasury. For a second-stage branch like the Qingli branch, even third-stage spiritual items were very rare. The only valuable thing was a piece of yin-yang purple jade. This was also the last piece of yin-yang purple jade that the Qingli branch could obtain. In the future, when the headquarters distributed yin-yang purple jade, it would also be distributed to the Shanbei market. Naturally, he could not let this piece go. Right now, the administrator's residence was very lacking in Zifu realm cultivators. He could not easily trust foreign Zifu realm cultivators. If he wanted to expand his strength, he still had to rely on his own nurturing. As long as it was not given to a cultivator with poor talent and foundation, the yin-yang purple jade was almost certain to open up a Purple Palace realm. It could be said that a piece of yin-yang purple jade was equivalent to a Zifu realm cultivator. Wang Daoyuan let Qian Feng out and let him continue to manage the Qingli branch. As for Cui Ming, he would let him go when he reached the Shanbei branch. Qian Feng could be considered a member of Elder Su's faction. If Zhou Wan did not place someone in the Qingli market, it would be somewhat abnormal. At that time, Elder Su would suspect that Qian Feng had sided with Zhou Wan. He might even send another Zifu realm cultivator over. At that time it would be even more troublesome to deal with. It would be reasonable to place Cui Ming in the Qingli branch in Zhou Wan's name. After leaving the Qingli market, he returned to Jade's Spring Peak and handed the yin-yang purple jade to his third brother, Wang Daochang. There were still a few Peak Foundation establishment cultivators in the family. It was up to the family to decide who to hand it over to. The Wang family had basically realized the freedom of Foundation establishment pills. Any clansman could directly exchange for Foundation establishment pills as long as they had sufficient contribution points. However, something like the yin-yang purple jade could not be easily exchanged for. It had to be given to clansmen with good talent and potential. The matter of the administrator's residence had already been settled. He greeted his third brother and asked him to take care of Yun Yi before heading to the Guiyan market. He had already comprehended the Cloud and Rain Heart Sutra for a period of time. He could not just study cultivation techniques and secret techniques. He had to practice more. When he arrived at Zhou Wan's cave abode in the underground branch, Zhou Wan was cultivating. He did not disturb her and sat in the backyard garden, drinking wine and admiring the flowers. An hour later, Zhou Wan woke up from her meditation. Wang Daoyuan was pouring wine from a wine jar into his mouth. With a flash of fire, the wine jar was gone. Zhou Wan appeared in front of him and took a sip from the wine jar. She said, "The grade of the spirit veins in the Guiyan market is too low. My cultivation speed can't keep up. I can only rely on spiritual items to replenish it. Let's start with 1,000 jars of 100-year spirit peach dew. The drunken dragon wine newly brewed by the family is not as good at recovering spiritual power as this spirit peach dew." Back then, when Wang Daoyuan helped the Netherworld sect refine the flying warship, he obtained the drunken dragon grass seed from the old drunkard. After 10 years of cultivation and decades of research by the clansmen. Finally, today, more than 100 years later, the drunken dragon wine was brewed. Unfortunately, the drunken dragon wine was too strong. Apart from those who really liked wine, ordinary cultivators would not drink it. Its spiritual power recovery effect was slightly inferior to the spirit peach dew of the same year. Wang Daoyuan did not plan on brewing the drunken dragon wine in large quantities. He only planted an acre of drunken dragon grass and other supplementary materials in the newly added land within the space of the spirit bead. Wang Daoyuan said with an evil smile, "The spirit peach dew is only a second-tier spiritual wine. After 1,000 years it'll only reach the third tier. It's not reliable for golden core cultivators to cultivate with this. However, I do have a method to increase cultivation speed. I wonder if the hall master would be interested in trying it?" Zhou Wan looked at his evil smile and snorted coldly, "From your expression, it definitely isn't anything good." Wang Daoyuan took out the Heart Sutra of Clouds and Rain and passed it to her. He said with a smile, "You've misunderstood me. This is definitely something good." Zhou Wan received the beast skin book doubtfully. After probing it with her spiritual sense for a while, she blushed. She tossed the beast skin book at Wang Daoyuan and pouted playfully, "I told you it wasn't anything good. You're such a pervert. What kind of decent thing can you take out?" Wang Daoyuan received the beast skin book and smiled. This is a cultivation method created by a golden core couple over 30,000 years ago. Whether it's good or bad cannot be determined with a single glance. True knowledge comes from practice. Why don't we try it out? Before Zhou Wan could refute him, he had already walked over and picked her up, walking into the room. Zhou Wan only put up a few symbolic resistance and gave him a few punches. At this time, second brother Wang Daoxing would drive the Grade 3 upper grade flying warship and bring along more than 10 Expedition Division cultivators to protect them. In the past year or so, the Demon Slayers Division had killed more than 20 low-grade rank 3 demonic beasts. In addition to Zhao Liang, there were still a few Tier 3 weapon refiners under the command of South Yen County. The demonic beast materials were all refined into Tier 3 magic tools. As for the beast core, Wang Mingshan would refine it into the foundation building pill. Wang Mingshan was now a third-tier middle-grade alchemist. Refining the building foundation dan, he could also refine 6 to 7 pills in one furnace. Although he couldn't compare with Wang Daoyuan in the past, now he didn't need to sell 2 foundation establishment pills to the Netherworld sect. He could keep as many as he refined. The cultivators of the monster-slaying department had ample resources and the protection of flying warships, so there were very few casualties. With the cooperation of a few hunting teams, the losses of Dharma artifacts and formation discs were not great. Therefore, the administrator's mansion still made a profit by killing a rank 3 demonic beast. The more the monster-slaying department and the expedition division fought, the stronger they became. The more resources they obtained, the more itinerant cultivators were willing to join, forming a virtuous cycle. On Blood Shadow's side, the headquarters didn't send any more Hall Masters to the Qingli branch, nor did they promote Qianfeng to Hall Master. The meaning was very clear. Elder Su didn't want to continue investing too much power in this side. After all, Zhou Xian was already a Golden Core cultivator. Sending Zifu realm cultivators over was equivalent to sending them to their deaths. Now that the situation in Shanbei was chaotic, sending Golden Core cultivators over would be a huge loss if anything happened. Zhou Xian promoted Qianfeng to Qingli branch's Hall Master. Wang Daoyuan also released his clone Cui Ming, and Zhou Xian appointed him as Qingli branch's deputy Hall Master. Qingli branch still had many of Qin Zhonggong's trusted subordinates, so it wasn't difficult to deal with them. The trusted subordinates left behind by the Mystic Sable had done this before, so they just needed to arrange some high-risk missions. Now that there were many itinerant cultivators near Qingli City Market, no matter how many cultivators were killed, they could be quickly replaced. Wang Daoyuan was sleeping soundly in his bed when he suddenly felt a wave of spirit power from under the bed. Someone had sent a message. His clothes and storage bag fell under the bed, so he used his divine sense to control the storage bag to fly up. He opened the storage bag and checked the jade talisman that was emitting spirit power. It was a message from Fifth Great Uncle. The 4 top forces were going to auction the Yin Yang Purple Jade and the Purple Cloud Wood Core at Qingzhou County, the capital of Zhou Country. This was the highest standard auction in the whole of Beiyuan Zhou Xian, held once every 100 years. Apart from Blood Shadow, all human forces with Golden Core cultivators in the entire cultivation world would be invited. Although Administrator Yannan's residence was a subordinate force of the Netherworld sect, it was also a force with a lot of autonomy. The Divine Weapon Pavilion had already sent news that the Wang family was also invited. Considering the awkward position of the Wang family, Zhou Jingyuan also sent a message through the channel of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, saying that he would send a flying warship to pick him up. There were not many opportunities for ordinary Golden Core forces to buy the Yin Yang Purple Jade or the Purple Cloud Wood Core, so Wang Daoyuan did not want to miss it. Moreover, this auction would not only auction the Yin Yang Purple Jade, but also other spiritual items. The auction that all human Golden Core forces participated in was an excellent opportunity to trade rare spiritual items, so there were naturally many good things. After the auction, there would also be an exchange meeting between Golden Core cultivators, and they would often encounter extremely precious 4th-level spiritual items. There were too few 4th-level spiritual plants in Wang Daoyuan's spiritual pearl space, so he could take advantage of this Beiyuan Zhou Xian's highest standard auction to buy some 4th-level spiritual plants. This time he was leaving the family openly, so he had to be prepared to prevent the Netherworld sect's bastards from taking risks. At this time, Zhou Xian was sleeping soundly with her head on his left arm. Wang Daoyuan patted her on the back and she said in a daze, "I'm tired, don't toss anymore." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Something happened outside and I need to go to Zhou. Do you want to come with me? You can also go back to your family." Zhou Xian woke up and asked, "Why are you going to Zhou?" "To auction the Yin Yang Purple Jade. I'm the master of a region, and the Divine Weapon Pavilion sent me an invitation. Our eldest nephew Zhou Jingyuan also said that he would send a flying warship to pick me up." "What a good child, you know how to be filial to your uncle," Wang Daoyuan replied. Zhou Xian shook her head and said, "My family has left Zhou for more than 1,000 years and I don't have any relatives there. Besides, it's not suitable for me to show my face in public, so I'd better not go." After saying that, she sat up and helped Wang Daoyuan put on his clothes and said, "This trip is hundreds of thousands of miles, so be careful. I'll take care of the family, so don't worry." Wang Daoyuan praised, "You're becoming more and more like a good wife, but don't act rashly. I'll leave a Golden Core devil here, and this guy's name is Devouring Spirit. Once something happens to the family, let him out and I'll tell him to listen to your orders." Devouring Spirit's ability to hide is extremely high, and those idiots from the Netherworld sect have never seen a devil before, so they can't do anything to him. Devouring Spirit is enough, and unless it's absolutely necessary, don't put yourself in danger. Zhou Xian's face was filled with astonishment. You're so capable? You can control a golden core puppet and a devil? Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, others don't know how capable I am, but don't you know? After saying that, he took out the Black Devil's robe and handed it to Zhou Xian. This is the Black Devil's robe, refined from the wings of a black-winged devil. Put on this Black Devil's robe, and even a half-step Yuanine cultivator won't be able to see through your real situation. If there's no other choice, just put on the Black Devil's robe and go out and help me guard the Jade Spring Peak. I'll leave Devouring Spirit in the Vice Hall Master's cave, and when you need him to act, just tell him. Zhou Xian took the Black Devil's robe and nodded solemnly. Wang Daoyuan left Zhou Xian's cave and left his clone, Devouring Spirit, in the Vice Hall Master's cave. Then he left returning Wild Goose Market and went to the Jade Spring Peak. Chapter 539. After arriving at Jade Spring Peak, he called the 12th uncle and the 3rd brother to his cave abode and asked, I'll soon rush to Zhou to bid for the Yin-Yang Purple Jade. How many spirit stones does the family have now? The 3rd brother Wang Daochong was still the family leader, so he naturally answered. Wang Daochong replied, now the family's annual income is more than 500,000 spirit stones. Especially after the establishment of the administrator's residence, the family has also reaped a lot of benefits. Currently there are more than 1.6 million spirit stones in the treasury. If you take them all out, it's enough to buy 2 Yin-Yang Purple Jades. In the past few years, the administrator's residence relied on renting the Wang family's flying boat to do business. Wang Daoyuan raised the rent especially high, and the Wang family earned a lot of spirit stones. In addition, they sold their family's resources, so the 4 markets and oasis could eat as many resources as they wanted. After they were not afraid of the Netherworld sect's suppression and expanded their business, the family's income was much higher than before. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, just take 1 million spirit stones. I have a lot of them myself. I'll go back to the administrator's residence and get some more spirit stones. I'm the only golden core cultivator in the Wang family, so I can't buy too many Yin-Yang Purple Jades. It'll be good if I can get 2. The main purpose of my trip is to buy some rank 4 spirit herbs to enrich the family. I'm the only golden core cultivator in the administrator's residence. If I leave, some people might be tempted. Whether it's the Netherworld sect, the demons, or half-demons in the north of the mountain, we have to guard against them. You don't have to worry too much. I've already prepared a backup plan. 1 or 2 golden core cultivators won't be a problem. Once someone attacks our Wang family, don't worry about the properties. Just take out the rank 4 array disc and guard Jade Spring Peak. If Jade Spring Peak can't withstand it, then use the escape route and hide in the Heavenly/Mountain range. As long as we're still alive, we can take back the properties we lost. The family had also collected some high-grade spirit stones. In addition to the defensive array disc that Xian Jiuxiao gave during the Golden Core ceremony, they could still resist Golden Core cultivators for a few hours if they were prepared in advance. The 2 of them nodded. After Wang Daochong left for a while, he returned with a storage pouch. Here are 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan took the spirit stones and nodded. I'll leave the family to you. I'll go to the governor's mansion to tell my granduncle something. After he finished speaking, he left Jade Spring Peak and headed towards Clear Glass City. Although it hadn't been long since the establishment of the administrator's office, it still had a profit of nearly 2 million a year through the reselling of resources through the 2 trade routes. There were still not enough people in the administrator's mansion. Their daily expenses were no more than 500,000 to 600,000 spirit stones a year. Rewarding cultivators with meritorious service would also consume some spirit stones. The Demon Slayers division still had some surplus and did not need any additional subsidies. The taxes collected by each market square could bring in 200,000 to 300,000 spirit stones a year. After finishing the business with the Underworld sect, the total profit for a year would be more than 1,500,000 spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan took 4 million spirit stones from the administrator's office. Together with the 1 million spirit stones from his family and the 1 million spirit stones he had on hand, He had more than 6 million spirit stones in total. He didn't expect to be able to buy any heavenly materials and earthly treasures. It would be a great profit if he could get a few level 4 spiritual plants. At the administrator's mansion, he let the cultivators of the Demon Slayers division rest for a while. They didn't want to provoke a level 4 demonic beast while he was away. At that time, without a golden core cultivator, the entire South Yen County would be in danger if they provoked a level 4 demonic beast. With more than 6 million spirit stones, it wouldn't be a big problem to deal with the auction. However, he still had to prepare for the exchange after the auction. Wang Daoyuan had a lot of good things in his hands, such as the 5 elements spiritual fire and the remaining earth essence from refining the Kirin seal. Among the level 4 spiritual plants, there were the yellow spring willow and the blood fire hibiscus. Any one of them could make a group of people go crazy. However, there weren't many things he was willing to take out for exchange. After thinking about it, the only things he was willing to take out were some level 4 hidden cloud tea, level 4 low-grade heaven demon gold, and the level 4 mid-grade Tai gold essence that contained the Tai golden flame. The white tiger blade was already a level 4 low-grade magic weapon. The heaven demon gold was useless, and the level 4 mid-grade Tai gold essence didn't need much. He could take out half of each. In addition, he could also take out some face-retaining pills. These things weren't very useful. Wang Daoyuan just casually planted a few in the corner of the spiritual pearl space. Half of the refined face-retaining pills were snatched away by Zhou Xian. 4 male golden core cultivators, the face-retaining pills weren't worth many spirit stones. However, for female cultivators, they were no different from heavenly materials and earthly treasures. They could be used to scam the Wind Snow God Palace. By arousing the interest of these people, the family could produce face-retaining pills on a large scale in the future and sell them specifically to them. The Wind Snow God Palace was a cold place. It was good for cultivating ice-attribute cultivation techniques, but it was impossible for them to grow ordinary spiritual plants. He wasn't afraid of them growing face-retaining pills on a large scale. This business could be done in the long run. After waiting in the clear glass market for 3 days, a level 4 low-grade flying warship came north along the clear glass river. Wang Daoyuan flew into the sky on a cloud to welcome the flying warship. The warship hovered above the clear glass market. A late-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator wearing a red robe stood at the bow of the ship. He cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and said, "Greetings, Senior Wang. This junior is under the orders of the Crown Prince to welcome Senior to the Zhou Empire to participate in the auction." Wang Daoyuan recognized this person. He had seen him in the hidden dragon county of the Zhou Empire when he was a late-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator. This person was Zhou Jingkai, the nephew of the Zhou Emperor and the younger cousin of the Zhou Emperor. Wang Daoyuan returned the greeting and said, "Zhou Dao, there's no need to be so polite. You and I are old acquaintances. We can call each other as equals." Zhou Jingkai could also be considered a nephew, but it wasn't good to say this out loud. This child had come from afar and he couldn't put on airs as an uncle. The two exchanged a few words and Wang Daoyuan boarded the warship and left the clear glass market. A level 4 low-grade flying warship was worthy of being called a magic artifact that could fight against early-stage Aurus core cultivators. Its speed was around 8,000 kilometers in 2 hours, which was faster than most early-stage Aurus core cultivators flying on clouds. Wang Daoyuan used his spiritual sense to scan the outer shell of the warship, as well as the magic artifacts that came with it. He estimated that with his strength, it would take him at least an hour to take down this flying warship. Ordinary early-stage Aurus core cultivators like Gu Wangzong wouldn't be able to fight against this flying warship. In the Three River Market, the warship also met the Netherworld sect's Grand Elder Zhong Zhenyang. The Netherworld sect naturally also wanted to participate in the auction. When he saw Wang Daoyuan board the flying warship, he shamelessly boarded the ship. This fellow chatted and laughed with Wang Daoyuan along the way, almost becoming sworn brothers. Those who didn't know would really think that the two had a good relationship. After 2 or 3 days, the flying warship arrived at the capital of Zhou State. The location of Qingzhou County was roughly in the center of the territories of various states. Before the hegemony of various states, Zhou State's strength was not inferior to the 4 top forces, and it was also one of the holy lands of the human race. The capital allowed Aurus core cultivators to fly, but not flying warships. The flying warship stopped more than 10 miles outside the east gate of the capital, and Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Xian rode a cloud and left the flying warship. Zhou Jingkai ordered people to drive the flying warship elsewhere, while he stayed on Wang Daoyuan's cloud and entered the capital. Zhou State really liked phoenixes, and the gate of the capital was carved with phoenix patterns. Zhou Jingkai led the two to the Qingtong Pavilion in the south of the city, which was a place to entertain foreign guests. This Qingtong Pavilion was really a gathering of Aurus core cultivators. As soon as they entered, dozens of spiritual senses swept over, and more than 10 of them belonged to Aurus core cultivators. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense cultivation was also outstanding among middle-stage Aurus core cultivators, but it was not as good as late-stage Aurus core cultivators. If a late-stage Aurus core cultivator deliberately hid their spiritual sense fluctuations when spying, he really couldn't find it. In this Qingtong Pavilion, there should be more than 20 Aurus core cultivators at this time. There were still more than 10 days before the auction, and most of the Aurus core forces hadn't arrived yet. When the auction came, it should be more lively. Chapter 540. The Qingtong Pavilion had a total of 4 floors. The first floor housed small forces with less than 5 golden core cultivators. Medium-sized forces with 5 to 10 golden core cultivators lived on the second floor. Large-scale forces with more than 10 golden core cultivators lived on the third floor. The strength of the 4 top forces was not on the same level as the other forces. In order to show respect, they lived on the top floor. Zhou Jingkai led Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Xian to their respective rooms. Wang Daoyuan lived on the first floor and Zhou Xian lived on the second floor. Among the golden core cultivators who had already arrived, there were no acquaintances of Wang Daoyuan. He also did not go out to visit and just stayed in his room. In the next 5 days, dozens of forces came one after another. After that, no other forces dared to come over. Wang Daoyuan scanned the entire Qingtong Pavilion with his spiritual consciousness and found that there were more than 40 rooms on the first floor, more than 20 on the second floor and more than 10 on the third floor. In total, there were more than 80 golden core cultivators. His spiritual consciousness was always staring at the door, and he found that these golden core forces all came with one person. 80 golden core cultivators meant that there were more than 80 golden core forces. There were more than 100 golden core forces in the entire Beiyuan Xian, and there were still more than 20 who had not come. Most of these forces came from various countries. The remaining small number of forces came from dangerous places all over the world. For example, Wang Daoyuan also met an acquaintance. It was the flying sand wanderer who dominated Mingsha Plain. This guy had now succeeded in forming his gold core. Wang Daoyuan paid him a special visit and learned that this guy had unified Mingsha Plain. Although he married a lot of half-demon women, he was still a proper human. The flying sand wanderer had now changed his name to Mingsha Sect. He gathered rogue cultivators from all over the world and operated his territory. He was no longer the former bandits. This guy also knew how to behave, and he tightly hugged the thigh of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. The Divine Weapon Pavilion did not treat him unfairly and invited him over. Wang Daoyuan and he could be considered old friends, so he went to say hello. 3 days before the auction, the 4 top forces arrived one after another. All the sects had sent peak stage gold core realm cultivators. The Tai Sword sect and the Archaic Mysteries sect each sent 3 peak stage gold core realm cultivators, but Wang Daoyuan did not recognize any of them. Among the people from the Divine Weapon Pavilion, there was his master, Venerable Lei Yan. Wang Daoyuan naturally had to pay him a visit. Arriving at the top floor where his master was temporarily staying, he bowed to his master. Taoist Lei Yan opened all the restrictions in the room and said with a smile, "Your cultivation progress is really fast. At this rate, you'll be able to enter the middle golden core stage in another 10 years or so. It's just that your qi and blood fluctuations are different from before. Seems like your primordial yang is gone. Have you found a Dao companion?" Wang Daoyuan smiled awkwardly. "I can't hide anything from you. I do have a Dao companion." Taoist Thunderflame nodded and said, "It's good to find a Dao companion. Give me a grand disciple as soon as possible. You are talented and intelligent, and now that you have reached the golden core stage, as long as your child has spiritual roots, his or her talent will definitely not be bad." Which family is your Dao companion from? What is her cultivation level? Wang Daoyuan replied, her cultivation level is about the same as mine. She is from a distant branch of the Zhou clan and is of the same generation as the current Zhou emperor. However, she no longer has any contact with the Zhou clan. It's just that her identity cannot be revealed. Master, you must keep it a secret. That's right, Master. I want to ask you for the method of condensing spiritual fire with a minor divine ability. My Dao companion's minor divine ability is also a flame. It's just that she has yet to cultivate spiritual fire. Daoist Lei Yan's face was full of admiration. Good lad, you can even find a genius with a minor divine ability when looking for a Dao companion. However, you have also helped me vent my anger. That old man, the retired emperor of Zhou, relied on his age and his friendship with your grandmaster to act like an elder. Now I'm finally on the same level as him. The retired emperor of Zhou, who was also Zhou Jingyuan's grandfather, was already over 1100 years old. The Zhou clan had the Phoenix bloodline. A few golden core cultivators with a high concentration of Phoenix bloodline could live over 1,000 years old. After saying this, Daoist Lei Yan handed a jade slip to Wang Daoyuan and smiled. This is my secret technique for condensing the purple thunder divine flame. Can be used as a reference. Wang Daoyuan received the jade slip and thanked him repeatedly. After chatting with his master for a few days, Wang Daoyuan asked him many questions about golden core cultivation. Soon after, Wang Daoyuan left his master's cave and went to visit the Tai Sword sect and Archaic Mysteries sect to ask about the recent situation of his acquaintances. 3 days later, the auction officially began. The location of the auction was the Phoenix stage in the center of the capital city. Zhou Jingyuan brought a few golden core cultivators of the Zhou clan and personally came to the Green Tong Pavilion to welcome the other golden core cultivators. The cultivators of the 4 top powers walked at the front while the cultivators of the other powers lined up according to their power. Everyone rode a cloud towards the Phoenix stage. The Phoenix stage had a long history. It was said that it was first seen when the Zhou country was founded. At the center of the Phoenix stage was a stage that was more than 20 feet tall and 100 feet long. There were many palaces around it. The auction platform for this time's auction was set up on this high platform. The cultivators of the various clans who participated in the auctions sat in the palaces around the stage. After the auction, the golden core cultivators would travel around the Phoenix stage and then participate in the exchange. Under the guidance of the Zhou clan cultivators, everyone walked to their respective seats. The 4 top powers sat in the palaces around the stage. Wang Daoyuan followed his master and sat in the south of the stage. Soon after, a late-stage golden core cultivator of the Zhou clan came forward and said some polite words. In the end, he said, "This auction has a total of 200 yin-yang purple jades and purple cloudwood cores. 50 of them will be auctioned individually while the rest will be auctioned in groups of 5. The first 50 were auctioned individually to take care of the smaller clans. The latter 5 were auctioned in groups to take care of the larger clans. The total number of yin-yang purple jades and purple cloudwood cores auctioned each time was different. This was decided by the 4 top powers after discussion. The Zhou country, the Qin country and several second-rate forces could also produce some yin-yang purple jades and purple cloudwood cores, but they were not very stable. Moreover, there were not many of them. It was far from enough for their own use. Auctioning these things seemed to be an order given to the 4 great clans by an ancient mighty figure. It was also a means for the 4 great clans to maintain their aloof status. In addition to this kind of public auction, they could also exchange benefits with the 4 great clans to obtain some yin-yang purple jades. Otherwise, these 200 wouldn't be enough for so many golden core clans. Most of the cultivators who didn't participate in the auction had other channels to obtain yin-yang purple jades from the 4 great clans. As soon as the auction began, Wanderer Flying Sand next to him sent him a voice transmission. "Dao, let's join forces to take down a group of 5 yin-yang purple jades. When the time comes, you take 3 and I take 2, or you take 2 and I take 3. What do you think, Daoyu?" Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections and immediately agreed. With more than 6 million spirit stones in his hand, he didn't feel any pressure to take down a group. However, if he took it alone, it would be too hateful. Especially the people from the 3 great sects of the state of Zhao, Wang Daoyuan didn't want to be suppressed by them. In the first 50 bids, Wang Daoyuan also called a few bids, but he only called 850,000 at most. The price of a single auction was relatively high, so it wasn't cost-effective to take it down at this time. In the space of the spiritual bead, the pure yin and pure yang qi produced by the gui water death flame and the scarlet yang true fire was enough. Some purple qi was produced in the middle of the space. Wang Daoyuan also planted a few purple cloud trees there. As the spiritual fire grew, the amount of yin-yang purple qi produced would also increase. It was estimated that in a few decades he would be able to produce purple cloud wood cores. There was no need to buy too much now, as it would only invite hatred for no reason. After the auction of the 50 single auctions, the average price was about 950,000. Then the auction began in groups of 5. This time Wang Daoyuan didn't speak and let Wanderer Flying Sand shout the price. In the end, Wanderer Flying Sand bought a group of yin-yang purple jades at the price of 4.3 million. The average price was 860,000 each, which was much more cost-effective than a single auction. The 3 great sects of the state of Zhou had been relatively peaceful these years, and they had accumulated more spirit stones in their hands, so they each took a group. Chapter 541. Wang Daoyuan and Flying Sand Wanderer didn't care about the rest. After the auction they began to discuss the distribution through voice transmissions. Flying Sand Wanderer took the lead and said, "Daoyu, I'm now in charge of the Mingxia sect. My family is large and I need a lot of yin-yang purple jades. Can you let me take 3? Wang Daoyuan naturally wanted to take 3. His family's demand for yin-yang purple jades was very high. The current Peak Foundation establishment cultivators were his uncle Wang Shoujia, his 27th brother Wang Daojian, and his eldest brother's great-grandson Wang Mingshan. There were 7 late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators. Apart from his 8th uncle and 9th aunt who had no hope of reaching Peak Foundation establishment, the other 5 had the possibility of establishing Violet Palace. Among them was his grandnephew Wang Dezhao, who had offered the Cloud Rain Heart Sutra. This child had made such a great contribution. No matter what, he had to be given the opportunity to establish Violet Palace. Although he was a guest elder of the Divine Weapon Pavilion and could buy a few yin-yang purple jades, doing business like this was too risky. However, doing business like this was too hurtful. Unless there was no other choice, he couldn't do it. Wang Daoyuan laughed. "Flying Sand Dao, your Mingxia sect is a sect and not a family. You don't need to nurture your own Violet Palace realm cultivators. I'm a family cultivator. There are nearly 1,000 cultivators in my family. Violet Palace realm cultivators are all nurtured by themselves. Their demand for yin-yang purple jades is even greater. I remember that the person in charge of the Divine Weapon Pavilion store in the Mingxia market is my senior martial brother. I'm also a guest elder of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. In the future, your Mingxia sect will have a lot of business with the Divine Weapon Pavilion. When the time comes, you can mention our friendship. My senior martial brother will definitely give you some discounts." When Flying Sand Vagabond heard this, he agreed. Soon, the auction of 200 yin-yang purple jades and purple cloud wood cores was completed. The Zhou clan also sent out Violet Palace realm cultivators to deliver the yin-yang purple jades to the successful bidders and take away the spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan gave his spirit stones to Flying Sand Wanderer. Flying Sand Wanderer took the yin-yang purple jades and handed over the spirit stones. He also gave 2 yin-yang purple jades and a purple cloud wood core to Wang Daoyuan. Soon all the bidders finished their transactions. However, everyone present didn't leave. The auction of the yin-yang purple jade was just the opening act. There were still some artifacts and spiritual items to be auctioned next. After everyone rested for a moment, the second auction officially began. Soon, a Zifu disciple stepped onto the stage wielding a long sword. The auctioneer introduced, "This is a high-grade Tier 4 magic weapon, the Flying Star Phoenix Flame Sword. Its raw material is a fire attribute meteorite, and it was forged by Taoist Master Crimson Phoenix using his true life fire. The starting bid for this Flying Star Phoenix Flame Sword is 1 million spirit stones, and each bid must be at least 10,000 spirit stones." Flying swords were the most worthless Tier 4 magic artifacts. Golden Core cultivators mainly used their natal magic artifacts and did not need to use sword kinesis flight. Their need for flying swords was extremely small. On the other hand, defensive Dharma artifacts were extremely popular. After all, Golden Core Heavenly Tribulation required a 4th-tier defensive Dharma artifact to withstand the Heavenly Tribulation. The price of a Tier 4 defensive mystic artifact was generally twice that of an offensive mystic artifact of the same tier. Wang Daoyuan had heard of Taoist Master Qi Luan before. He was also a member of the Zhou family. He was also the direct ancestor of Zhou Wan. He had already passed away more than 500 years ago. Zhou Wan's special physique was inherited from Taoist Qi Luan. The Crimson Phoenix fire technique that she cultivated was also created by Taoist Qi Luan. In the end, the Flying Star Phoenix Flame Sword was sold for 1,300,000 spirit stones, which was not much higher than the market price. The second magic artifact was a mid-grade Tier 4 gourd called the Blazing Sun Divine Flame Gourd. It could store all kinds of flames and absorb fire spiritual energy to strengthen the power of the flames. This item was quite good when used with the Blazing Sun True Fire. Wang Daoyuan was really tempted. After calling out the price twice, he heard his master's voice transmission. Daoyuan, don't waste spirit stones on this item. I know you're using it to deal with a high-grade Tier 4 refined corpse, but it's not enough. I've already forged a high-grade Tier 4 magic artifact for you, and it's still being nurtured in the cauldron. In 10 years it'll be able to be used. It's much better than this broken gourd. Taoist Master Lei Yan was one of the top blacksmiths in Beiyuan Zhou Xian. Wang Daoyuan naturally believed in his foresight and did not continue to bid. The next few items were all Tier 4 magic artifacts, and Wang Daoyuan did not bid. After the Tier 4 magic artifacts were warmed up, Tier 4 refining materials began to appear. Wang Daoyuan bought 60 kilograms of low-grade Tier 4 deep-sea black gold at the price of 20,000 spirit stones per kilogram. This was a dual-attribute metal and water material. Its strength was not too high, but it could be used to forge offensive and defensive magic artifacts. Buying a low-grade Tier 4 material at this price, he did not expect to get anything precious. 60 kilograms of deep-sea black gold and some supplementary materials could be used to forge 4 or 5 low-grade Tier 4 defensive magic artifacts. The price of a low-grade Tier 4 defensive magic artifact would not be lower than 600,000 spirit stones. 1,200,000 spirit stones was not considered expensive. The following refining materials were all more precious. Wang Daoyuan did not have many spirit stones, so he did not bid again. After more than 10 refining materials, the grand finale officially appeared. Next was the 4 top forces' auction of their respective sex treasures. First was the Wind Snow God Palace's items. The Wind Snow God Palace specialized in talismans, especially dermic talismans. No other force in the North Deep could compare to them. The Wind Snow Chilling Heavenly Talisman was the Wind Snow Chilling Heavenly Talisman. A high-grade Tier 4 Wind Snow Chilling Heavenly Talisman could freeze an area of 100 miles in an instant. If one did not have any powerful means to resist or a brilliant escape technique to avoid it, the Wind Snow Chilling Heavenly Talisman would not be able to survive. Middle Golden Core Stage cultivators basically had no chance of survival, and even late Golden Core Stage cultivators would be severely injured. The Wind Snow God Palace did not take out a Wind Snow Chilling Heavenly Talisman, but a mid-grade Tier 4 Extreme Cold Mysterious Ice Talisman. It also had the ability to severely injure a mid-stage Golden Core cultivator. The starting price was 3 million spirit stones, and it was finally bought by the Zhou dynasty's royal family for 5 million spirit stones. The second item was the Tai Sword Sex item. It was not very novel. It was a copy of the Tai Sword diagram by Taoist Xian Lei, and the starting price was 4 million spirit stones. This item was very valuable to sword cultivators and it was useless to ordinary cultivators. Wang Daoyuan also had a copy by Taoist Swordless. He often took it out to study and gained a lot. Although Taoist Xian Lei was Taoist Swordless master, it was hard to say who was stronger. Taoist Swordless' understanding of sword cultivation should be deeper than Taoist Xuan Lei's. Wang Daoyuan already had a better one, so he did not care about this. In the end, the Tai Sword diagram was bought by the Setting Sun Palace for 7 million spirit stones. The Archaic Arcanum sect was best at array formations, and they took out a high-grade Tier 4 defensive array disc with a starting price of 8 million spirit stones. In the end, it was bought by the Qin dynasty's royal family for 12 million spirit stones. The last item to appear was the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Everyone knew what it was. Usually, the Divine Weapon Pavilion would take out 1 or 2 low-grade Tier 4 flying warships for various forces to bid on. Wang Daoyuan naturally coveted this flying warship. However, the price of a Tier 4 flying warship was too high. It would cost at least 10 million spirit stones. Moreover, a Tier 4 flying warship must be powered by high-grade spirit stones. He did not have a spirit stone mine that could produce high-grade spirit stones, so he could not afford it even if he bought it. A golden core cultivator walked up and took out a low-grade Tier 4 flying warship from his yin and yang ring. The auctioneer shouted, "The Divine Weapon Pavilion refined a low-grade Tier 4 flying warship. The starting price is 10 million spirit stones." This item was a stabilizing force for small and mid-grade golden core forces. A gold core cultivator could only guard the sect for 600 to 700 years from the time he formed his gold core to the time he passed away. As for a Tier 4 flying warship, as long as it was not destroyed by an expert, it could be used for tens of thousands of years. Naturally, there were many people bidding for such a good item. The 3 major sects of Zhao also took turns to bid. In the end, the flying warship was bought by the Song Emperor Song Yan for 16 million spirit stones. Back then, when Song attacked Wuqing Pass, Song Yan wanted to risk his life, but his grandfather dissuaded him. Now, his grandfather had passed away more than 20 years ago. Song Yan held all the power in Song. He had been accumulating his strength, preparing to attack Zhao again. Song Yan's golden core cultivators did not have an advantage, so they bought the flying warship to make up for their lack of golden core cultivators. Looking at how crazy this guy was, there would be another great battle in the future. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.